our veins, sitting in the bleachers in the rain. We've shed a million tears and drank as many old style beers out at the game. Let's go Cubby, Ranto, Ranto and the lovable losers. Ranto and the lovable losers. Ranto.
You're making me want to interpretive dance over here. Oh my God, I don't know what's come over me. Welcome to the Ranto Show, brought to you by the Bleacher Bunch Productions on the Fans First Network, with great shows like Cup of Cubby Blue, Baseball Rabbit Hole, and Cubs PS Plus podcast. You can't go wrong with the Bleacher Bunch. This show is brought to you by our 107 paid Patreon supporters, one of whom will win the Patreon prize of the month tonight because it is the last show of the month. How about that? Well, it isn't technically the last show of the month because we're going next Wednesday because of scheduling conflicts, because of the stupid schedulers from MLB. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that later. Somebody's going to win tonight. But hello, infield fly girl. Hello, Cubes fan Cotton.
Hello.
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 You sounded like an old Disney guy sitting on a log for a moment. Hello there. Let me tell you a story, kids.
Yeah, let me tell you a story about. Well, actually, let me tell you a story. First off, people will notice I am in a new location.
You got a lamp and everything, a pillow. Look at
that.
Yeah,
this is going to be my new spot. I moved all my stuff in the house because my nephew is moving in for his last couple years in college. So he's living out in the apartment where I used to do the podcast. So
basically, if your family was a sitcom, you would have just jumped the shark by adding another character to try to keep the seasons going for your sitcom by having the nephew move in. Is that what's happening? Your cousin Oliver's coming to stay.
We're like 3 minutes away from a side plot where he tries to date the mail lady.
Right. Well, and it's all going to be way more hijinks because now I've got a dog and a cat in this room with me, and I just screamed. I just screamed in the house, and so they do the quick cut to the rest of my family, and they're like, "Oh, geez, this again."
I'm thinking of something even more notable right now. Your face is naked, like very naked.
Yeah, Tom Cooper's pointing it out in the chat. Cotton shaved.
It's pretty clean. It's not completely, I don't go all the way down to the skin, but it's hot. It's hot, so I decided to shave. And I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know what to do sometimes because I have so much white hair in my beard and
just
it's
for
all
men,
over and it's not like even. It's crazy. And a lot of times I'll be sitting on the show just looking at my face like half of my mustache doesn't show up on the camera.
It's white, yeah. Well, the Cubs season has turned all of our hair a little whiter, I think, this year. I want to point out something real quick, is that Weller Deller is in Twitch right now. We are streaming live on Twitch. We have no Twitch followers, but we don't want to go on Twitter anymore because Elon Musk makes us pay, and he's a freaking douchebag, so we don't want to pay him. So
I ain't paying Elon nothing.
Yeah, so we're giving this shit away for free anyway. I'm not going to pay to do it. I mean, we already pay StreamYard, but at least they give us something in return. So follow us on Twitch. I tweeted out the Twitch.
Or go to YouTube. I mean, we can always use more people viewing on YouTube if that's what you do. Or if you're like me, there's no way I'm sitting and watching me for an hour and a half or however long we go. It's in my ears. I'm walking around. I'm doing all sorts of things. So for all you people who still take this in as an audio medium, I'm with you. I love you.
Yeah, I listen to us, so we still sound like a podcast when I hear us. I check to see that we're all sounding okay, Yeah. Dominic Galoro is actually on YouTube right now, and he also says #Chance in the chat. So if you would like to do that, you could win a Frank Chance postcard sent to you by me with a message of love and doom. And I also want to introduce our other co-host here. We're the three-legged stool of Son Ranto. Infield Fly Girl is also here with it's pretty much it's a different background than last time, just because you've got a bunch of cool jerseys hanging on the side, which I don't think I noticed before.
Yeah, it looks like you redid your setup there.
I did. I moved some things around. I have a bunch of stuff that I had previously not had on the wall. On the wall over here, moved some things around. Got my signed photos of Ian Happ and Ben Brown up here. Still got my Matt Cameron's permanent paintings. Over here, we got some an old Ranter. Or that's the current Ranter calendar. I need to change the month. This says June. I picked up the foul ball bear when I was in Chicago, so that needed some space. I got Rowan Wick's Yokohama Bay Stars towel right here.
Oh yeah, heirloom.
Oh, that's cool.
That's my name in Chinese. Just a bunch of stuff. But then over here, I found a pretty cool like standalone wardrobe thing. So I have all of my jerseys hanging up here, and some of my favorites here where you can see them, where we've got like Seiya Suzuki, Hiroshima Carp jersey that's got his little embroidered Seiya right there from when he got a whole bunch of batting awards. We got some Henshin Tigers, we got some Hanwha Eagles. And that is Kim Jin Young, who was an international prospect for the Cubs back in the day. He gave that to me. Anyway, that's my stuff. I love
MLB needs to do something like that, like what you said with the Seiya jersey, and it has his embroidery because he got awards. Like when guys win Gold Gloves and when they, get MVPs or Silver Sluggers, all that stuff, there should be a little thing on the sleeve. Like just a little, kind of like in football when the guys wear all the tackles on their helmet, they get a sticker or something.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's Seiya Suzuki best OBP patch. That's really neat that you're showing. Let me describe it. Is that his number?
Yeah. So this is when Seiya was number one.
Okay.
So he used to be 51. Then he was number one. So this is when he got the batting champion award with a. What was this? 317 batting average and a 433 OBP, and it says, Suzuki Seiya, Central League.
That's really cool.
21, the Hiroshima Carp. There's the big thing.
Yeah, they should. Or remember
this big old Captain C right here.
That's something that teams should bring back too. I mean, if a guy earns it. We always wanted Rizzo to have one when he was with the team.
Put a C on his chest. Well, they didn't want to do it because they weren't going to. Well, they tried to pay him, but he didn't want it. And then, anyway, they couldn't come to a. And maybe they would have put it if they got another, 5-6 years out of him. Eventually, they put a C. But who knows what would have happened. I don't think they like operating that way because then you can't switch guys out at will like they're about to do during this trade deadline. With the Good Enough gang riding again. So we'll get to that in a moment. I do want to bring up that our show is also brought to you by Rogue Wave Creative, Mike Waller, and the Cubs PS Plus podcast, and Blake Beard and his awesome tickets that you can buy from him if he's not going to the game anyway. Just at the Blake Beard on Twitter. Also, Matt Kammerer and his permanent paintings on Etsy, and In the Clutch shirts will give away the Patreon prize of the month tonight. #Chance in the chat. Eric Wheelo is going to be by in a moment. You know what? I think I forgot to send him the link. So
yeah, Pincus says Rizzo should have a P for Portillo's. Actually, no, he should have a B for Buena Beef.
Oh yeah, he did those commercials for a while.
Yeah, and they fit him perfectly.
But, we were going to have Wheelo on, and he probably still will come on in a second. But Evan Altman's going to come by later, and Mike Waller's going to come by later to talk about the future Cubs that we will complain about in 5 years that will maybe be sitting in Iowa. And we'll also, I got a couple of notes here on how we might have fared in the draft 5 years ago, because that's about the time it takes sometimes for these guys to get here. So I got a few notes on that. So that'd be fun. But
yeah, that would actually be yeah. I mean, who cares about who they just drafted? I mean, yeah, that's exciting and it's new, but it doesn't mean anything. Like the guys that they drafted 5 years ago, that means something. It means that was the end of Theo's run. So maybe his last draft class, maybe.
Yeah. And it was Theo and Jed. I mean, it's not like Jed wasn't there when all that stuff was going down. But yeah, not a great week for the Cubs. I mean, it's exactly, we had the Ranto roundtable last week. We had everybody come on. I was pretty disheartened by what everybody said, not many people had a whole heck of a lot of hope in what would happen next. And they proved us right. I mean, they didn't get swept again though. So they went 2-4 coming out of the gate. They really needed to sweep the Brewers. They lost 2 of 3. They lost 2 of 3 to the D-bags. And they didn't score any runs again. The offense just completely sputtered. And I want to just pull up some stats real quick about how bad it was in these last 7 days offensively, because the pitching was great. The bullpen was even great. The starting pitching was great. Miguel Amaya basically carried this team somehow. He had but he didn't play in all the games. He was only in 5 games, only took 9 at bats because he bats at the bottom of the order.
Well, and because they pinch hit for him a couple times.
Yeah, but he went 6 for 9.
Nice.
Yeah. And
well,
then
the guy in which further I don't know, solidifies my point that they don't know what they're doing. He went 6 for 9, and that's the guy they pinch hit for him a couple times. Like, no, he's finally doing what you want him to do. And they're like, he still can't do it. We're going to pinch hit for him.
Yeah, we don't like the matchup. But I mean, look at these numbers. I mean, they're really paltry. I've got it separated by OPS because they only hit 2 homers all week. Ian Happ got into 1, and so did Seiya Suzuki. It wasn't enough. I mean,
that was about the only thing Ian Happ did this week.
Yeah.
I'm a little afraid we're into our down month with Happ.
Well, that's what you're afraid of.
Yep.
I mean, these numbers are just freaking total ass. I mean, it's exactly what you didn't need coming out. I mean, the Brewers pitching, I mean, that's the knock on them, right? I mean, we didn't even face their freaking ace. And I mean, and you didn't score any runs. Even the game you won, you barely scored.
Yeah. They scored 3 runs in 3 games total. Isn't that right?
The Brewers series, they scored a total. No, they scored a total of 5 runs in the Brewers series. And in the D-bag series, they scored 3 runs total.
Oh, that's the one I was looking at.
Yeah, they scored 3 runs in the D-bag series. And, yeah, I mean, so what is it? This offense broke in 2018 and never got fixed.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, the offense breaking in 2018, I don't think it actually did break. That was the year that they won 95 games and missed the playoffs because the Brewers had a great last month and the Cubs had to play for, 30 straight days. And, it's like they said that the offense broke, but they won 95 games. Like, it felt like at that point there was something, again, they were not doing a good job of evaluating what was actually happening. And if they tried to fix the offense in the team that went 95 wins. And they have done worse every year since. Because maybe if you get to 95 wins, whether you get in the playoffs or not, you don't try to fix that. you actually tell the guys, good job, you did 95 wins. We got, a raw deal because that wasn't enough to get us in the playoffs. But that's insane because that would win the division most years. It's just like, okay, you're not broke. Let's see what we can do to make you better or whatever.
Well, it's a whole different team
they made
now,
everybody feel like crap and they tried to fix something that wasn't broke.
The only thing the same about the offense is Ian Happ and the guys that put together this team. which is Jen Hoyer.
And David Bodie, apparently.
That's
Good
right.
point.
David Bodie was gone for so long, we forget that he's back
Yeah.
doing his thing.
By the way, IFG, you're drinking a milkshake, it seems. What the heck is that? That is a dark-looking Rasputin-y beer.
I am drinking one of my favorites. Quilter's Irish Death.
Ooh.
It's thick, it's dark, it's strong. It is the perfect thing for forgetting how terrible baseball is being right
What's
now.
the ABV on that one?
7.8.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
I would totally.
But for something like that you just get at the grocery store in a 6-pack instead of a 4-pack, it's pretty good.
That actually looks really good, and I would love to try that one.
Love it. It's delicious.
Do they make Irish Death with potato blight yeast? Like, do they use the fungus?
One thing I do really like about Quilters, they have Irish Death, but then they do like seasonal Irish Deaths. So they'll have like cookie death or coffee death or chocolate death or like ice cream death. Like it's always something weird and different. So I can get those at like this little place called Chuck's Hop Shop. That's always got really cool stuff that comes in all the time. So, but I always end up just going back to the regular all Irish Death. They call it a dark strong ale, or a dark smooth ale, something like that.
Oh, really? It looks like a stout.
Delicious. Yeah, it's not quite a stout. It's not super malty.
Yeah, no, I've had strong ales before. It's just very dark. So when I saw it, I thought it was a stout. Well,
yeah.
We are thinking the same thing.
Iron Horse Brewery, that's what it is.
I'm drinking a Zombie Dust from
Comes in a
Three
can?
Floyds.
I didn't know it came in a can.
Yeah,
That's new.
Hold on,
So-
who makes that?
Three
That's
Floyds.
in Chicago, yeah.
They're out of Indiana, but this is the Undead Pale Ale because this is what the Cubs are right now. They're just zombie dust. They're just out there. They're dead men walking.
Irish
They're trying
Death.
to play the game.
Yeah. It really does. I've really never had, as somebody said back, here, Alex Anderson here in the chat said, they suck, they're not having fun, and they're not fun to watch. I mean,
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Precisely. I mean, and I'll tell you how bad, because I did want to look at some of this stuff. I was listening to Locked On Cubs guys talking about this too, because, I mean, we're all seeing the same thing, so everybody's kind of saying the same thing on all the pods, and I'm listening to everybody. But I looked up some of these leverage stats, and it's the RISP. Here's some RISPy numbers, and this gets small on a lot of screens here. This is for the year. I mean, Garrett Cooper actually still leads the team. Remember him? He leads the team with runners in scoring position.
He played what? Because he played like what? 1 game, 2 games
eight
back
games.
in April.
10 at bats, and he leads the team in runner, but it's just an outlier number. Anyway, Cody Bellinger has actually been pretty good. He's hitting .311 with runners in scoring position.
Amazing that he can do that with a broken hand.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he's not here. Nick Madrigal was actually somewhat clutch with a 265. I mean, we got rid of all these
very
guys.
funny.
That's not
Double
a thing.
or triple clutching before he throws that ball.
And then Ian Happ at 264. And then that's your basic regular. That's the best. And then you go down Suzuki, Tachman. Nobody's been clutch. You're under 250 now. So basically you're succeeding 1 out of 4 times, really, with even your best guy, Bellinger, 1 out of 3-ish. Yeah. And there's barely any slug for it. Nobody's got an OPS except for Happ over. Well, he's got 1,000. So he actually, you could say he's been clutch. He's been slugging. He's got 48 RBI. In that situation. So
and he walks a ton. He does get the slug out of those doubles, which he does double a lot, and then you add in the walks and it rolls that number up pretty well.
6 specifically, 7 homers, 7 of his homers with runners in. But it's not like these are not like knockout numbers. And then when you look down at the people who have really sucked, this is what kills you. Dansby Swanson and Christopher Morel both at 200. Nico Horner at 240, a little higher. Tachman at 244, doesn't play every day. Michael Busch, he's out there every day, 190 with runners in scoring position. PCA, he's been getting a huge look here. He had a terrible series. He went 0 for the entire series, 188.
So what's funny is you're saying that these guys are terrible with runners in scoring position because they're hitting 200, they hit 196. but I think you're missing the point here a little bit. That's just how they hit. They're the exact same when they're hitting with nobody in scoring position and when they're hitting with guys, because they're hitting 200 on the season, the entire season. So if you have runners in scoring position and they're hitting 200, but their batting average for the season is 200, then I'm saying, good job.
Well, exactly. And you're correct.
Or
about
wait,
that.
no, that's not a good job. That's a terrible job. And you need to figure that out.
And you're correct about that, because look at these clutch stats. Now 2 outs, runners in scoring position, they have been 15% worse. But late and close, it's average. Tie game, it's just as good as themselves. Like, they're as good as themselves. You're absolutely right. I mean, look at these clutch, the OPS pluses. The OPS pluses are sitting right at their regular stats, in the 90s, like not too far off from where they are. But just as an offense in general, here's the high leverage numbers just to kind of complete this situation. High leverage, they actually have a T OPS plus. I always get these mixed up, which one's which. But the 115, so they're actually better in high leverage situations. An S OPS plus of 105. Is S the one that's against themselves and T is the one against everybody else? I always forget which one's which. But either way, they're not that far off.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not that far off, but it's funny because you're like, and that's where numbers can sometimes, you can use numbers to make all sorts of arguments. And this is where numbers actually come in and they're telling us a little bit of a different story than what's really happening. Because what you just said, in high leverage situations with the runners in scoring position, they're actually better. Well, sure. But what the problem is that happens less than the low leverage, no runners, because they're just not producing. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, you're 5 points better in this high leverage situation. And then, but when you look at what the better than that is, you're just like, well, you're noise. Terrible though.
It's noise in the numbers.
Yeah. But I'm saying that this is how, like, I don't think that you're misusing the numbers. I think that that's how, though, sometimes these numbers can get misused. Like the whole thing, like you said, Nick Madrigal being better with runners in scoring position or something like that.
Well, better than himself.
Right. But here's the situation. You have to look at the individual games, because if they're losing, right, by more than one run, and Nick Madrigal comes up, that pitcher is throwing everything right down the middle to Nick Madrigal, because he knows the worst case scenario is giving up one run, right? He's not worried about Nick Madrigal going yard or doing something to put the team in a bad position. He's the guy that they go after. So he ends up getting those good pitches. He does something, and we get fake rallies.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. And, these were the numbers on the week as well. And we saw a lot of guys, I think there were 2 games where they were really close, and we saw some warning track shots. Patrick Wisdom had maybe 1 or 2. I think Morrell did. I mean, it's not enough. And then people were blaming the umps too, but that is not even, it's kind of the case, but it kind of isn't the case too. Because look at this number. Like, this is just from that ump scorecard. Milwaukee got favored by a run. But the Cubs if you take all 6 games, all 5, actually, this is just 5 of the games. I guess it's missing yesterday, but we're just average. Like, overall, it didn't really affect us on the week. 0.07 favor. And Arizona actually got hosed by a run during that series against the Cubs. So
I will tell you, one of the things that drives me nuts, and everybody knows that I hate the little K-Zone fake ass box that doesn't actually exist in the world anywhere, not even the umps, not even the official fucking K-Zone. That's not the box that we see on the TV is not correct. And I hate that the announcers can see it too, because then they talk about it. But it's just so frustrating because they do talk about that box. I mean, it drives me crazy. So crazy, in fact, that I think I forgot where I was going with that little rant there for a minute.
Well, I'll show you. This is Friday versus Arizona. Only 90% accuracy, 91% consistency. It favored Arizona. Saturday, Cubs lost this one 3-0. 91-91 accuracy, consistency. Look at that called strike accuracy, 80%. 9 of 40.
Okay, but again,
Yeah.
See, now this is where I have problems with these boxes. And by the way, I remembered what I was going to say. I really hate when the announcers bitch about missed calls when their team is pitching and they don't say a word about it when we're being favored by those missed calls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
First off, because that box doesn't really exist. And second, you got to call it out for both if you're going to do it. What were you going to say, IFG?
Yeah, no, I feel like JD does a really good job about that. You know, former pitcher and all that. But, I mean, he has pulled that, didn't have to be on both sides of, you know, as long as I've ever been watching. You know, I feel like if there's one, you know, color guy who really does call out the umpire no matter who is benefiting from that call, I feel like JD does a really good job of that.
And Ron Coomer kind of loses his mind too, and more as a homer, you know, like Michael said. But I do think that JD is a little fair. I agree with that. But it's been kind of egregious. I mean, I'll put up Sunday as long as I'm going. Like this one, 89% ball accuracy, 91% strike accuracy, 89% overall accuracy, and this is Lance Barrett. Like this guy's been around a long ass time, and like,
right,
you know,
okay, but put that back up. Let me. Okay, so
he's missing. He's calling balls at the bottom of the zone that are actually strikes.
But
so the pitcher's getting hosed.
But here is the thing that this stat and everything doesn't get. Look how many balls are right there together at the bottom of that zone.
Yeah, he called it like shit 5,
but
6, 7
consistently.
times.
That is all you've ever asked from an umpire for the entirety of baseball is consistency. And now that we have this like box that nobody can see on the field, that ump, like according to the box, those are misses. According to him, they are all correct because they are all the same. And as long as that umpire is calling that a ball every single time, because we did see a few times in this week when a ball would be called a ball and a strike in the same spot, that's the thing that drives me insane. So what you're seeing on that right there, you see all those balls in the bottom?
I'll put up Monday.
That just wasn't his strike zone. So those
I'm
balls.
I'm not calling that one consistent either, though, because if you're not going to give him the bottom of the zone, you got to give him the top, and he had shit called wrong at the top too.
Just a tight zone overall, you know, or no, well, yeah, because he was calling them balls down there, and then so
he did call a couple up there, and yes, IFG, I would agree with you with the ones at the top, like, but that's my point. If you want to get upset with the ones at the top, because that's the part that's being inconsistent with the ones at the bottom. But the ones at the bottom, in my opinion, those are all okay because they're consistent. But as IFG said, so you know, these two strikes you see at the bottom right corner, those are not consistent with all those balls he put right there that are in there. That's a bad umping job. That's just bad.
Well, yeah. So what we're looking at now is that he was calling a ball in the lower part of the corner.
So Rogue Wave Creative.
Yeah. Well, let me just finish.
How about just call it right?
Yeah.
My point is they are calling it right as long as they're calling it consistent. it's right. That box doesn't exist anywhere.
I get it, but let me explain it for the podcast listeners what we're looking at. So we see a bunch of balls that were called that were actually strikes. This is in the 1-0 loss on Tuesday,
and that's in the lower inside
right hand
to the right hand batter.
Yeah. So they're calling that thing wrong, but he was calling strikes inside and outside. So his accuracy, this is Doug Eddings too. This is another veteran umpire. He had his relative accuracy was 3% below expected. We've seen a lot of 2% and higher and better. This is the worst game called of the year or of this whole series. 88% accuracy, 88% consistency. Called strike accuracy, 76%. 3 out of 4 pitches.
Yeah, the strike zone's the size of frickin' Montana over here.
Yeah.
See, but again, and this is where it does get frustrating. I would say those ones in the bottom lower right corner of that box, those 2 strikes are the outlier.
Yeah.
And and the fact that there's balls and strikes in the same spot, that's
he
bad.
Was so, no, he was so bad. This guy was
not
so
agree
bad.
with you, Colin, on this. I really can't.
And
not with this one.
And that's fine. I'm seeing 4 balls on this right here that you're showing.
Well,
okay, 5. I'm seeing
the other
5 balls on this that are wrong.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are just the strike zone. Because that's the strike zone that the guy has at the day. And the only reason that players can't hit that anymore is because we have shit like this. And they're like, well, we don't go after that stuff anymore. Like, we can't hit it. And that's just not the way baseball was played for 150 years.
Well 150 years ago, they weren't throwing sweepers with 24 inches of break.
That's the other thing I wanted to bring up too, is that it really they don't tell you in that box and just with those red and greens and everything, what pitch was thrown and what that is going to look like to an umpire. Because, if the pitcher is trying to fool the batter, it can just as easily fool the umpire. We've talked about that before. And I think that there's room for both arguments. The fact of the matter is the robot umps are coming, regardless of whether and this is the kind of bullshit that's going to make it happen.
So, okay, the robot umps
are honestly necessary at this point. And that is simply because of the limits of the human eyeball. Balls are coming in faster than ever before. They have more break in more directions than ever before. You've got the, crazy tunneling going on where you can't tell what the guy is throwing until after it's crossed the plate. And when the rules do say that any part of the ball crossing any part of the strike zone is a strike, you need to be able to call that a little bit more consistently than some old people who are standing there for 3 hours staring in the same direction can reliably do. And honestly, the pitchers deserve it and the hitters deserve it. Both sides of the ball deserve to play a game at a high level and have the contest be between the pitcher and the hitter and not between the pitcher, the hitter, and the parameters of the field. And really, that's my biggest argument.
Okay. And you're not wrong. Like, it's just you have a difference of opinion on how you want it to be played than I do, because I personally enjoy the work between the pitcher and the catcher, the framing, the sort of the deception of it.
I get
right?
that. Lifelong catcher fan, and I feel you on that one.
Okay, but here's what's going to happen. I'll tell you right now. Mark it. July 25th, 2024. They are going to institute the robot umps. Mm-hmm. And sure, it's going to happen. What that is going to do is it's going to destroy pitching. Because what they're going to have to do in order to get these strikes is throw it over the plate all the time. They cannot work the magic that they try to work with their catcher. The catching position, the catching position is going to be devalued from a defensive standpoint.
Fully disagree.
The pitching position they are going to throw that ball. This is what happens, actually, I believe, in AAA, and why you see these guys that have such good numbers in AAA, and then they come up and they can't hit in the major leagues. It's because they have that sort of situation where they're getting these balls on the robo umps and the challenges, all that stuff, right?
Where the strikes are being called accurately.
Right. And the batters can hit that, and they are going to hit that. So if you like batting, and that's all you care about, which is 90% of baseball fans, all they care about is batting.
Sucks. It's so boring.
It
if they can get more batting into it by bringing in the robo ups, then it would be even better. If it fuck the pitchers. And that's
fine. If that's
these guys are fucking throwing sweepers that look like Bugs Bunny pitches, and like, what are you supposed to do? Bring back the knuckle curve. You know what I mean? They're
going to start. I'm telling you right now. When the pitchers have to hit this zone, this robo ump zone, the offensive numbers are going to explode, and then they're going to try and figure out how to make that different. And so it all really just depends on what you prefer, right? It's a preference. It's not a right or wrong, in my opinion, because I don't personally believe that this K zone is, what did I say? I said a month or so ago, perfection is overrated. This game is not about perfection. It's about, for me, it's about the artistry of what the players are doing and all the different things. And when you see this happen, there's going to be a lot more offense. I'll give you that. There will be a lot more offense. There will be a lot less pitchers staying into games longer. They're going to end up having to like expand the rosters to have more pitchers. It's going to be.
I really don't see this the same way you're. I appreciate your take on it. I really do. I like a lot of the human element of the game. I like, the personality of the player and people's personal styles and whatnot. Pitchers in particular have been so far beyond what, pitching science is so far beyond what hitting science is right now. And pitchers are about like 20 years of development ahead of hitters right now. Like, they are so far beyond the beyond that they kind of do need to be reined back a little bit, not in a way that is going to cause them harm, which is why I don't like the pitch clock. Now, hear me out. A consistent strike zone, something where it is predictable, where the parameters of the field are the parameters of the field. They will be able to train for that. This is not going to hamstring people. They're not going to have to never throw their sweeper. They're not, it's just going to be, if a part of the ball crosses a part of the plate, that is going to be a strike. And you can reliably work with that. If you are throwing things that start over here and end up over here, as long as they cross the plate at some point, that's a strike. And it's not going to be a situation where you make that perfect pitch and then it gets taken away from you because the dude standing behind the plate couldn't fucking see it.
Or you try to make the perfect pitch and you don't, and you get
That's your problem. That's literally your bad.
But you get it anyway. And then you're complaining because the batter didn't get it. I'm saying it goes both ways. Like, this doesn't affect one or the other. And I would say, so Danny, you just put this league-wide hitting is down to a level baseball hasn't seen in 56 years.
IFG did.
Oh,
I did not say that.
Yeah. Oh, who said that?
Who the hell is posting on our stuff?
Oh, maybe Mike. I think Mike Waller might be. Anyway, we got to move on. Anyways, we got people waiting in the green room and stuff. We can sit here and talk about robot umps all night long.
Let me hit the last point here. What you're saying about that?
The last word cotton over here.
But this goes into what IFG is saying too, because she's saying that the pitchers are so much ahead of the hitters.
They are.
And this. No, I understand what you're saying. It is very possible. Part of the reason that they are ahead of the hitters right now is because this box exists for those hitters, and they're not going after. They're playing the box, and the pitchers are not playing the box because they don't have to. So they have an advantage.
Everybody's playing the box.
No,
Everybody's
pitchers
playing
are
the
playing the
box.
box, too.
The only thing that we're asking
Pitch
is that the
framing
box
doesn't-
is the same
pitch
box
framing
no matter
doesn't play
what
the
dude
box.
is standing
That's what I'm
behind the
saying.
plate and how he feels that night.
It's all very moment to moment. Yeah, I mean, it just like how's
but
that pitch
what I'm saying is
moving?
a
Like, it's
pitcher, when a
so-
pitcher knows he can get something, the pitcher's going to keep going there. And these batters are looking at this
I
and they're
just
just
think
going, "That's not a strike, and I'm not going to swing, and I don't care what you do. I'm just going to take my strikeout and I'm going to walk away."
There are
That's
obviously
what it looks like to me.
There are obviously consequences, but I think it would be so early to say that it's going to benefit one side or the other because there's just so many factors, and like there's also still the human element of physically having to do these things. But I have a new song, and I'm gonna play Eric Wheelo on here real quick, and Mike Waller too. But I have a new song that this happened during the week when Craig Counsell had an exchange with Jesse Rogers after the game about Christopher Morel swinging for the lake, and I made a little remix, so check this out.
He's swinging for the lake. That's a bad take. That's a bad take. That's a bad take. He's swinging for the lake. That's a bad take. That's a bad take. That's a bad take.
Every time
He's
somebody
swinging
on
for
the
the lake.
show
That's a bad
makes
take.
a bad take,
That's a bad take.
we got
That's a
this
bad
song
take.
to play.
He's swinging for the lake. That's a bad take.
I think
That's
you
a
can
bad
just
take.
call
That's
that
a
the
bad
cotton
take.
drop.
He's
then.
swinging for the lake.
because
That's a bad
nobody
take.
likes my takes.
I mean, like
I'm looking through the chat and
I just think you're being reductive. I
people
just think
agree with IFG, and that's fine. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with what she's saying. I'm saying that I just think that it's going to have more of an effect.
that
I
you
think
want
there are
it to
effects
have.
that's going to come around that people aren't prepared for, and
Yeah.
and
That's
I
absolutely
mean, obviously
true.
that's in the future. We'll just find
Yeah.
out when it happens.
Same as when they made the loudspeaker at Wrigley Field, let everybody have walk-up songs and blasted a bunch of ads at me instead of having a Dixieland band walk around. And people are like, what happened to the Dixieland band? I'm like, oh, they replaced it with advertising. So then you don't notice till later and you're like, oh shit, it was more fun before. But I'm going to bring on Eric Wheelo and his bad takes. Eric, you texted me just the other day. You said we played like I'll paraphrase it. We played like shit, and we still kicked your guys' ass because you guys are really that fucking bad. Your team is terrible, dog shit.
Dog shit. I think I called it a dog shit team. Like, I don't know how we play that bad and you guys still lose. I mean, we should have took that first game. Like, the amount of runners we had on in scoring position, I think we had the bases loaded twice and runners on like second and third with one out another time. And then Tobias Myers is just airmailing pitches and throwing them over the second baseman.
He sucked, and we still we couldn't
Yeah,
do
you
anything.
barely won. You won. You took
Barely.
the opener. There was hope. But
Wheelo, having bases loaded and not scoring, we just call that the Chicago way.
No. Hold on. Hold on. You need to change that tune. That's the Craig Counsell way. Because I've
Oh no. We've been doing it for years.
Well, so has Craig Counsell, but you're just paying him $8 million to do it this year, and we used to pay him $4 million.
How do you feel about Christian Yelich trying to play through a herniated disc in his back or what the fuck ever it is?
The thing is like I heard the news and then I heard it could be like season ending. He was going to California, going to see a specialist. And then the good news was like he's going to try to rehab it. So apparently it's not as bad as they thought. But I got a little triggered by it because it brought back bad memories of Ryan Braun and just the years of back injuries and like the 10-day IL stints, like 4 times, 5 times out of the year. And it's just like,
Like
it
he's had this,
debilitates.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, but it's like you got a guy that's leading the league in batting average and like seems to find his form, and then it's the back. I mean, you see it happening with Chris Bryant, and you're like, that's an issue when you're a baseball player because that's going to be something that's a part of him for the rest of his career. That just doesn't go away.
I mean, the back thing has been a Christian Yelich issue, like a lot. So going back to 2019 or something?
Yeah. I mean, it was that scary knee thing, and then kind of the back thing started popping up, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think he went down with his back before he fouled that ball off his knee. And I only know this because he was on my fantasy team that year.
Oh, okay.
But like he's had this recurring back thing, and then like they're like, we're not saying a diagnosis out loud, but it's like a nerve thing in the middle of his back that keeps recurring. And I'm like, that sounds like a herniated disc to me. But like he's like, I'm just gonna take a nap and see if that gets better, and then if I need surgery, maybe we do that in the off season. But like that is, I mean,
the thing is like in this division, I don't hate it because like we got a 6-game lead. You know, we're a bunch of games over 500. What are we right now? Like 11 games over.
Oh yeah, it just doesn't really even matter.
And it's like if we could get them to heal up and come back for like a playoff push at the end of the year, it's like that's when we need Christian Yelich. Like we got a Devin Williams coming back. Like that bullpen's
who do you have replacing him though?
Replacing Christian Yelich? Oh, yeah. Young guys on our team. A young man named Jackson Churio, who's fucking 20 years old and just raking his ass off. And we got Garrett Mitchell.
What I'm saying is this injury is actually going to be great for the Brewers because
next man up.
Yelich just had a great first half of his season.
Yep.
And now he gets to bow out with that great half helping his team. And now the young guys get to come up and actually play well, and he won't get worn out by the end of the year.
The thing we have that you don't have going is we have so many young guys on our team. Like I think it was after game 2 of the Cubs series, our young guys were making so many mistakes and like bunting and like doing stupid shit at the plate with runners in scoring position. Pat Murphy, our manager, at a meeting, he called in all 6 guys, either in their first and second year on the team, into the manager's room and like berated them and told them exactly what they were fucking doing wrong. They said it was crowded as shit with the 3 coaches. It might've been 7 players in there, but like just that wealth to have that and guys that are actually playing. And they were just like, we love it. He's telling us exactly what we're doing wrong. And you can just tell the love he has for us in our heart. And then what did we do? We came out the next day and we kicked your fucking ass. Like it ruled.
Well, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say kicked our ass. What was it? 3?
Dude, we have such a plethora of outfielders. Like we have Blake Perkins and like Garrett Mitchell, and like both of them are center fielders. They're like fighting over balls, like almost running into each other. There's just so much talent in that outfield. Like Christian Yelich going out, big loss, but we're gonna be okay. We can survive.
I think that's an addition by subtraction with him because we are going to get into these late months, and if he can rehab and come back, like feeling good, that's going to be a bonus.
Yeah.
But honestly, he had a great first half.
Amazing. He looked like old Christian.
Now he can kind of just like take it easy for a little while and see if that gets better. And then,
then your problem is now you're going to add at the trade deadline because like we're selling. You want to slightly use Jameson Tyone?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the one guy I want. And I fucking screwed myself by betting on him and said he was going to get injured. No, he's having like a Cy Young year. What is he what is his ERA? Like under, it's almost
it's
like
2.96.
Yeah. 2.9.
He lost the game.
Because you can't score any runs. He pitched almost into the 9th inning.
Lost the game, and his ERA went down.
Oh
amazing. God. We do have some breaking news. I think trade season's officially on.
Somebody trade somebody for somebody else.
Arizona Diamondbacks receive left-handed reliever AJ Puck. Miami Marlins get Davison De Los Santos and Andrew Pintar. So Diamondbacks are buyers.
What position is CIF? Is that center infield? Like what
Sounds
the hell
like
is going on?
Yeah, middle infield.
Okay.
Yeah, so like
I think I'd go with MIF maybe on middle infield. Center infield just looks weird.
That's the first time I've seen that too.
But it's the first
time anybody on the planet has seen that.
Maybe corner infield. Maybe it's corner infield.
Yeah, first and third.
So first and third guy.
Okay.
Yeah, but the real news here is how he spells Davison. I mean, I've never seen that.
It's division.
Deyvison. That's new. I dig it. And Davison of the
very long name.
Yeah.
Thank God he doesn't have to write checks anymore.
I went to Minnie Mignoso's grave. They just put a new memorial to him very close, like right across from Ernie Banks, pretty much right across that lake. And he has a long ass name. Go look at my weather report on TikTok today.
So
he's got 7
Mini
names.
Mini's not his name. It's not. It's actually just like, no. Let's take the rest of my name and let's just say Mini.
Mini.
My name is Mini now.
Yeah,
it's a Mini name.
So you're 6 games ahead in the standings right now. You've totally buried the Cubs, who are in last, fighting the Reds for the bottom. But you got to kind of look at like the Paul Skeens Pirates and like some of their young guys. I don't know if they would ever buy, like they are still the Pirates, but like, but maybe they could knock on your door a little bit. I mean, I don't see the Reds doing it.
I mean, the rumors were already floating around that the Pirates could be buyers and that they might be sniffing around some of the Cubs guys.
Yeah, I have Pirates friends out here, and they are all in agreement that they could be buyers. And it's not like getting a guy that has some years left, like getting that power bat, like getting them with this young core and building that future. Yeah.
About half the league thinks that they're going to try to talk Ian Happ out of his no trade clause. I don't know how much coffee they'd have to offer him, but
the thing with the Brewers is it's working right now. I don't see us being buyers. We need a starting pitcher without a doubt. Like that's the one thing we're lacking on this team. But what do you want to give up? Like the future for it? The future's here and you're in first place. That's why I just don't see the Brewers being starters. If we do, maybe like just an arm just to eat innings up, like a 4-3-4 rotation guy. And then
you're talking about Jameson Tyone.
Yeah,
like that's exactly who you're talking about.
Give us all your prospects.
Can you take Neris too and like actually figure him out?
Yeah, I bet you Neris is freaking lights out for you guys.
Yeah, he would be. Because
I would lower my blood pressure by like 50 points.
I mean, I don't even care. Neris comes out. I'm like, whatever. The game's over anyway.
All right, I'm going to make the case right now, and this is Bob Nightingale, who was a writer. We all know
Bob Nightingale's an idiot.
Well,
don't say anything he says. I mean,
here we go. He made a really great point. He never makes them, but he made this one. The Brewers with their Cy Young winner Corbin Burns gone, their manager Craig Counsell gone, their top 2 veteran starters Brandon Woodruff, Wade Miley out for the year, all-star closer Devin Williams still out, all-star outfielder Christian Yelich out indefinitely. Keep on rolling 3-2 over the Cubs, 6-game lead, 11 games over the bitter rival Chicago Cubs. Take a bow, Pat Murphy. You should be unanimous NL Manager of the Year. And I agree with that. And the good point of that is Craig motherfucking Counsell never won it with the Brewers. Fuck you, Craig Counsell.
Well, I was going to say earlier, Wheelo, when you said Murphy had a meeting after the game,
yes.
Craig Counsell never has meetings after the game because he's got to drive up to Wisconsin to his house. He knows better. He's out. He's out quick up to Wisconsin.
More breaking news?
Yeah, well, sort of. It's rumor mill stuff, but if you think, recording the show is going to stop me from doom scrolling Twitter, you're wrong. Mark Feinsand said a little bit ago, according to sources, the Astros, Orioles, Red Sox, and Yankees are among the teams that have expressed interest in Jameson Tyone.
I like him with the Orioles. That would be fucking amazing. What would be your best pick? Like of those teams,
I could give a shit.
You could. It's about the haul you get, right?
Oh yeah, it's all about who you get for him. Who cares who it goes to?
Right now, it's like how close the people we would get would be to the major leagues.
Yes, but he has team control, right? Did I see he has like 2 years?
2 years,
yes,
yeah.
Which is you can get a lot. Get a really good haul for that if you play your cards right, but. Are you going to trust Jed? Fuck no, you're not.
Well, no, I don't trust Jed as far as I can throw him. But if it's like, sticking your hand into the marble bin and hoping you're getting a good one, like I would go with the Orioles just because they tend to be smarter about their young ones. I wouldn't trust the Yankees as far as I can throw them. I don't think the Astros system is what it was.
It wasn't. We rated that system. That was all those people who were great. That's where we got Hader. That's where we got Gomez. Like we stole from them. We got Stearns, was their assistant GM, became our GM, and we just rated that farm system.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox are a hot mess. So if I have to trade with somebody, it's those orange birds over there.
To be fair to Jed,
why?
I think he's excellent at making every team outside of Chicago, but in the system, good. So it's just that he doesn't know when or how to get them to Chicago. So, like, when you're talking about trades, I think Jed's great for making these trades as long as he's making them for young players who will just stay down in the minors and raise our minor league capital to this insane, like, oh, we're the second best minor league in the world and blah, blah, blah. And we're so good. And yet we'll never see those guys in Chicago as long as Jed's there.
Well, just go ahead and trade Jameson Taillon for 2 more left fielders.
That is a perfect segue to go to a quick commercial and then come back and talk about this draft that the Cubs just participated in. But first, Eric, before we let you go here, you're getting rid of me? All right. You could stick around, but first you have to explain William Contreras looking like a French girl in 1890s Paris.
He is very pretty in this picture.
Yeah, very
I
pretty.
agree.
Make me like your other girls. Like, what is it?
I will absolutely paint this man like that.
How do I explain it? That's a man that's just confident. That's just raking. All-star, stud, carrying the team. That's the look of a guy that knows he's fucked because he's too good too early and the Brewers aren't going to pay him. That's what it is.
So, he knows all about that from his brother.
Or he knows that they aren't going to pay him, so he's going to get to go to wherever he wants to go. He'll get a chance to pick his team in whatever city he'd like to play in.
Be the best next Yachty. All right, so who is – all right, we got to do – who's
that Cubby?
Cubby, all right. And now, call me. Okay, here we go.
Ooh, I know.
Oh, wow. That was very quick.
Who is that?
If you know who this is. But, I think it's
lefty hitter.
He's lefty.
Kind of a little guy.
Yep. And I think that he has a bit of a pretty distinct shape. So if you know, put it in the chat and we'll reveal who that Cubby is when we come back.
Okay, and we will be right back. I'm going to play a commercial for Patreon. Patreon.com/SunRanto is how you support the show. And tonight, if you join in, you can be eligible to win a T-shirt from In the Clutch Shirts and a Matt Kammer Permanent Paintings Ron Santo map poster. So we'll be right back. Join us, Patreon.com/SunRanto. All over Chicagoland, there are thirsty, frazzled, overworked Cubs podcasters who are struggling to survive one more baseball season in the dog-eat-dog world of unpaid content creation. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can make a difference. Become a super ranter at patreon.com/sunranto, where your support ensures that poor, sad, pathetic, ugly, loser Cubs podcasters can pay for tickets and beer, and in turn line the pockets of the baseball oligarch Ricketts family. Just $1 a month can buy a scorecard. $5 a month can pay for guitar strings to write a Cubs song. And $10 a month almost buys one beer at Wrigley Field. Cubs content creators are the lowest pieces of pond scum garbage that slither over the face of this planet. But super ranters help them get drunk and screw off at baseball games. What do you get out of it? The Sun Ranto Show delivered to your podcatcher without stupid advertisements like the one you're seeing and hearing right now. Plus, at other Super Ranter levels, you can get Cubs music, access to private Sun Ranto pages, the Ranter calendar, and special thanks and Ranter recognition in our live broadcasts. Plus, eligibility for monthly prizes. What does Sun Ranto get out of it? Your money. For tickets and beer. Go to patreon.com/sunranto. That's patreon.com/sunranto. And become a Super Ranter today.
Do you ever find yourself longing for long walks and talks about catcher metrics? How about a coffee over run differential? Maybe a candlelit dinner dissecting what exactly is the curious case of Miles Mastrobuoni? If you have, I have just the place for you, the Cubs PS Plus podcast. Come join us. Cubs PS Plus, a Northside numbers game, can be found wherever it is you get your podcasts. and on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at Cubs PS Plus, a spin on the baseball metric OPS Plus. Are you ready? I'm ready. Here we go.
Come on, guys. Let's see. We got, okay.
Who's that?
Fukudome? Hold on. Fukudome? I said it was a little guy. Look at this. That's a little guy. That is not Kosuke Fukudome. Come on, guys. We got Mike Waller's guessing Miles Mastroboni. Pincus says Kawasaki. No. We got a guess for Alu.
Yeah. Alu we
Mike
already
Fontenot.
did. Yeah.
Come
Well,
on.
hey, at least that was a very little guy.
That is a little guy.
I always try to tell, like, well, do you use the same backdrop every time? No.
Alexander Miller was the first to get this. It's Tommy La Stella, Lyle Akers' favorite pizza guy.
Yeah, well, he had to go save his family pizza restaurant, and that's why he left to go save La Stella's pizza in New Jersey. And,
the real reason they called him 3 a.m. is because he would deliver pizza all the way up till 3 a.m.
Yeah. Sometimes 4 a.m. on the weekends. So, congratulations. Who got it right?
Alexander Miller.
Oh, and Dominic got it too, as well.
Oh,
Good job, Mr. Miller.
So I did want to bring up that we are giving away an In the Clutch shirt later on to a special Patreon.
By the way,
supporter. And you are wearing an In the Clutch shirt, the Shy Feds.
Shy Feds, and I also have the Whalers hat. So this is like 15, and these guys are 16, or maybe it's 14 and 15. But it's the same team. It's just 2 separate years.
I like the whales, though. That's a fun little guy on there.
Speaking of a long time ago, hashtag Chance in the chat. You can win a Frank Chance postcard sent to you by me with a message of love and doom. I'm
turning my hat backwards because I think Evan Altman is about to come on this show.
Oh.
But his hat's on forwards because he's totally changed his style. Welcome from the Cubs Insider. It's Evan Altman.
Hi.
And from Cubs PS Plus, we got Mike Waller.
Oh, we are 2
weeks in a row, I gotta talk to
thirds
Lila.
of the way to the Brady Bunch. How you guys doing?
It's another day. It's a day without Cubs baseball, which makes it a pretty damn good day.
Cubs didn't lose today.
But instead, we're sitting here talking about it. And,
They scored just as many runs today, though, as they have in most of their last few games. So
Very true. Very true. The offense
Giving up
was
about as many too.
pretty similar.
Yeah, it's been tough. And so it's kind of – I wanted to bring you guys on to talk about the draft. Mike Waller, you had the Greg – you had one of the Gregs on.
Greg Zumac.
We've got Gregs for days that know about prospects. It's really incredible. The Greg power that the Cubs fandom has when it comes to evaluating the youth baseball in the Cubs system. Then Brian Smith is another one. Who else? I know that
Greg Huss doesn't focus on the draft as much.
Greg Huss,
well.
yeah, obviously we've had Greg on this show a bunch, but I listened to your show and it was great. And I read everything Evan wrote about it on Cubs Insider. And it seems that we just like guys that play baseball with wooden bats. That's our thing. Cape Cod League.
There's really kind of everybody's team this year.
It's so funny. I love the idea that with all the technology we have in the world, they're like, maybe we should go after the guys that hit with wood bats versus the guys who don't hit with wood bats.
Well, it's interesting.
As they keep juicing the ball, right? Like the baseball is more juiced, and we've seen this go back and forth at the major league level. But if you go all the way down, like the high school balls are more juiced than at college, and so on and so forth. So as you see, like you're seeing these insane exit velo numbers from some of these high school kids, and it's really difficult sometimes to then judge, like, okay, how good is this guy going to really be at this next level? You see that at the youth level too. Like I'm involved in that quite a bit. And the bats and the way those change. You see some kid who's a monster when he's 12 and then he's 13. It's like, oh no, this kid's awful. Like, what are we talking about? Like you get that $500 rolled bat out of his hands. And so I think you're seeing that. I mean, that's why go back to Bryce Harper. Like he got his GED and went to a wood bat college so that he could really prove that, like, no, it wasn't a fluke. Like, yeah, I was on Sports Illustrated when I was 16, but I'm legit. And that proved it. But I won't ramble about this further, but I think there's a lot of implications all the way through the college system and down into high school with the way that the transfer portal has kind of changed things. We're seeing fundamental shifts in the way the game is played and kind of the way players are scouted all the way through, and that's made its way into the draft where polished college hitters are clearly at a much higher level. They're seen in a much better light, I guess I should say, than maybe what they've been in the past.
Well, and Evan, didn't they I mean, that was the big issue, was the exit velo coming off of the aluminum bats back in the day. They just kept making those things bouncier and bouncier and bouncier. And so they removed that and went to the BB Core composite bats or whatever. And I get it, I guess, for like young kids. But why do you have any sort of like idea why they don't do that at the college level? And Waller, if you have an idea as well, like colleges can afford wood bats. Like, why aren't they just forcing that?
Yeah, it's still even that they can, but like wood bats aren't cheap, and so you're gonna break a bunch of those, right? Like, and most of them don't have any warranties. Bomb bats will have warranties, but those are still like $400 bats. And if you do any customizations to them, you could get upwards. Even you can actually go buy a lot of that's marketing. Like you could go buy a $40 Louisville Slugger off of Amazon or at Walmart, and it'll hit pretty. Like I watch the Baseball Bat Bros. It's a great YouTube channel, and they do a lot of bat reviews. Because that's like that and hoof trimming are like the two things that I watch, and we can talk about that.
Oh man,
later.
I love those hoof trimming.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Like a horse,
you guys?
Yeah, cows.
Cows usually.
Yeah. Hoof GPs in Southwest Scotland.
And in college too.
Tremendous.
In college,
Nate's the hoof guy on TikTok. He's great.
Like horses?
Cows.
Cows.
Of course, Michael. Of course
Cows
it's
need their feet maintained, and it's very satisfying. And then the cow feels so much better afterward. It's like they get their little manicure pedicures. It's adorable.
It's tremendous stuff. I can talk to you about lateral claws, medial claws, putting blocks on there, the different glues they use. It's crazy.
So
like salicylic acid wrap.
Oh yeah, got to dry up those soul ulcers.
I see. I thought you were talking about horses. I grew up with horses, and I guess that's why I don't find it interesting. I've seen it done. It's just a thing. I don't know.
Well, horses don't have a lot of fur to trim, not like cows, I guess.
Let's get back to baseball here. Yeah. What the fuck are you guys?
I'll
Evan,
tell you this much.
No more hoof talk. We know you have a hoof fetish.
I want to get to the.
Have you watched the Cubs this season? I'm looking for anything I can find that's going to provide me with some sense of entertainment.
How about the future?
That's where we gotten
the future of the Cubs, which is a guy. Yeah, it is. It's a guy named Cam Smith, who is not even close to the most famous Cam Smith when you go and Google the guy. Because, first of all, there was another Cam Smith that played baseball for Detroit named Cameron Smith. Then there's this guy that plays at Texas that also comes up when you say Cameron Smith. He's a pitcher. And then
he looks like Vanilla Ice.
And you've got a football player named Cameron Smith who plays for the Miami Dolphins. And you've got a Cameron Smith that is an Australian professional golfer who looks like Mitch Williams.
Yeah, didn't he win the British Open?
I was going to say
he did win the British Open
right after that.
Live golf, yeah.
Yeah, that guy absolutely looks like a relief pitcher.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't look like he looks like he would be from somewhere in Kentucky, like in Appalachia. Like so he's a guy. He was an extra on Justified.
Yeah. Yes. Josh Hader's stunt double. So, but this is the actual Cameron Smith we got, and he looks like he's fielding the hell out of a ball. Looks like a big, strong kid. Went to FSU. This is what you said on Cubs Insider about him. Smith is a big-bodied third baseman who the Cubs believe can stick at the position, and he's able to generate very loud contact, high exit velos. He's someone the organization has had the eyes on for a while, and the Cubs prioritized him over some other very good players, so it's clear they see some things they like. And didn't we just draft this guy last year, Matt Shaw? Didn't we just get this guy?
Yeah, I mean,
is Matt Shaw also
Shaw's not
6'8"
quite
or
that
whatever?
big? Yeah, he's Shaw's, but again, I think what they're looking at a couple different things, and Smith is one of those guys, right? They had seen him out of high school, evaluated him there, and I think that was one of those things where you look at it and say, well, let's see how this translates at the college level, right? But I think what we're also seeing is kind of this idea that I think has come over, and Dan Kantrovitz has talked about this. Like he's brought in people, and he's gone in with the Bears, not the best organization generally to follow, but other NFL scouts and evaluators to look at how do they do it? Because in the NFL, you see so much. Teams do not draft for positional needs, at least at the higher levels, right? They're going best available. And I think that Kantrovitz has taken that same kind of step forward with it, because a lot of people are like, oh my God, they didn't get any pitchers. Well, if you're drafting for need, you're going to end up, that's what Jason McLeod did, right? And the Cubs would draft like 18 pitchers with their first 20 picks and just get a bunch of guys who they thought had high floors. And none of them had any ceilings because they didn't have any idea how to develop pitchers. And so now they're saying, hey,
that floor was in a tent.
The floor was like they started from the cellar and then they went up, and it's like, oh, your floor is actually it's the bottom, it's the basement floor. It's not the roof. The ceiling is not the roof, as Michael Jordan said. But no, so they're saying, hey, we've done kind of a shit job of development over the last few years. Let's go ahead and let these colleges develop them for a while. We've got a better idea of who these people are as individuals, as hitters, as whatever. And we're going to get some guys who we think can move fairly quickly. We've already got a system that's pretty heavy and moving toward the top end. And so now we're going to build up some guys who, one way or the other, they're either going to work and make their way to Chicago, or now we've got more trade capital that we can start making some of these moves and backfill quickly. That's at least what I think they're looking at.
Yeah, and I think one of the other key points, Greg and I talked about it, and I've read it other places. Ever since they cut down the minor league, there's no split season ball or short season ball. Every team is down to 4 affiliates in the complex league. There just aren't as many spots. So that's also added to the, why are we going to draft a kid out of high school unless we're really super high on him? And again, it's paying that 5 years, and now they got to pay the minor leaguers more and feed them and house them and all that stuff. And so, go to college, and it's actually worked out for players to some extent, because now you've got the transfer portal, you've got NIL money in some cases for some of those top players. But I think it is going to encourage more guys to stay in college. This year, there were way fewer high school players drafted than we've seen lately.
And I think it plays a little bit into MLB's like overarching, we'd like to be more like football plan. And, college football is, for all intents and purposes, a professional sport in every sense except the fact that the players don't get paid to do it.
And that's changing,
which should absolutely be changing, and it should be changed retroactively, probably about 10 years. But anyway,
and baseball loves not paying young guys.
But I do see MLB kind of using college baseball as a development portal even more than they have been, and continuing to do that in an increasing way.
Well, and I'll add to that a friend of mine who works for the Schaumburg Boomers, they are also, hey, would you roster this guy? Put him out the bullpen. We want to give him a look. Would you?
Like the indie leagues and banana ball even.
So they're sending these guys around. So it's interesting. So you give everybody raises in the minor leagues. Okay, we're not going to give you $8,000 a year so you could starve and live on a mattress in a closet. So we're not going to do that, but we're going to cut your teams way down, and then we're going to let the colleges do all the development, and we're going to let indie league, once they get out of college, and Korea and Japan and Taiwan, and we're going to let all those places do and then we're going to get talent from there, plus Puerto Rico and the Dominican leagues and Venezuela and the international draft. And so basically they don't want to do it anymore.
Well,
I can't. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I won't argue too much if this all boils down to fewer players playing baseball while living in their cars and eating peanut butter sandwiches every day. Sure. Because ultimately, if MLB is paying their players and the college students are taking advantage of NIL deals and then hopefully also getting paid as, college sports become more professional, and, indie leagues at least, at least with like the short season, like college ball that happens over the summer, sort of in between semesters, they have, host families that take care of them and things like that. Like that could be better. But these are, generally really small neighborhood outfits that aren't terribly profitable. So that's kind of like you get what you get there. Maybe as that stuff grows, you end up with really popular college talent. And then it's like, oh, well, where is he going to go play in the summer? Oh, he's going to go play with the Dub C fish sticks. Let's go watch the Dub C fish sticks. And then maybe that becomes more profitable. And then they can pay their players. Who knows? But it's more baseball. It is varied baseball. It takes MLB a little bit. MLB is always going to want to be seen as the pinnacle of professional baseball, but that doesn't mean that there can't be other baseball outfits that have their own fan bases, that have their own fan cultures, that have all of these things. And I'm always in for more baseball, especially more baseball that's a little bit different than whatever Manfred and the billionaire owners want to force feed us for $70 minimum tickets.
I hope you're right, IFG. And with that, I really hope that maybe moves the colleges to start playing their seasons in the summer. Because I have tried so hard to get into Iowa baseball because I live right here in Iowa City and I can go to the games and they're cheap and, it's fun to watch baseball. What's not fun to watch baseball is that it's freaking March and it's cold and it's rainy and it sucks.
You can't do it.
Like they end their season in like the second week of June or something with the College World Series. I don't know exactly when it is, but they end their season when honestly they really should be starting. Like I wish that they would go.
So if they did that,
summer.
Unless they moved the MLB draft. So when I played high school ball back in the 90s, there was a kid on my high school team, year behind me. Actually, two kids on the team when I was a senior wound up getting drafted by MLB. One of them went pro, and we won state championship my senior year. We won it in August. I think August 1st, July 31st was the end of the season. The next year, that team was probably going to win it again because it was a young team my senior year. Mm-hmm. But the ace pitcher got drafted basically mid-season because the Iowa college season high school season doesn't start till May. So then it's never going to happen that all of a sudden like Paul Skeens is going to miss the College World Series because the Pirates drafted him.
No, but look, MLB just needs to move their draft. But
they want those last 2 months to get those guys on the track.
Well, I want to talk about another guy that we drafted.
They could.
I don't want to talk about
those
Iowa
baseball,
but they're not going
all
to
winter long.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole right now.
Yeah, I don't either. But that's insane. Just saying that a fucking random date on a calendar can't be changed when. I mean, granted, it's MLB and they hate doing anything that makes any sense. Well, but they shouldn't have their fucking draft in the middle of the season anyway.
Ultimately, Cotton. I think as college baseball becomes more professional, we might end up seeing an escalation in when these players start debuting as major leaguers. So they are going to want the draft to be there because maybe you get a Paul Skeens where, they're playing in the major leagues, 8 months after they're drafted.
Okay, but if they do it like football, the season is over and then these guys go and just train with whoever your guy up in Seattle and all these, they just go and they train and they do a combine and then they draft it right before the fucking baseball season.
Yeah, but we have no control over what all these moving parts. So all we're doing is speculating. What I want to talk about is the guys that we actually did draft in this draft, as opposed to trying to fix something that we have no control over. So, if
I do anything else on this show.
So we have nothing to talk about with these guys. We won't see them.
Who did we draft? I didn't even watch the draft.
This is a mock draft. It is a draft in which I will mock our draft picks. So
I usually wait until spring training to do that.
Cool. So
draft mockery.
Cole Mathis was drafted second. Now he is a two-way player, but he was announced as a third baseman. I guess he won't be pitching, but he has got the name of two different crooners, Nat King Cole and Johnny Mathis. And so I thought it would be fun if I made Nat King Cole the dad and Johnny Mathis the mom. And this is what you would get with a Nat King Cole, Johnny Mathis two-way player. I got a couple different babies to show you. If it looked more like mom, this is what you're getting out of a baby.
Oh, that's adorable.
There's Cole Mathis for you.
That's really, actually a really cute baby.
Yeah,
it's a really cute baby. And here's the other baby. Also, very cute baby.
Another cute baby. I thought you were going to give us one of those like crazy when you just take the two adults and mash their heads together.
No,
I was not expecting MPreg content here on this show.
What was that?
This is what I tune in for. No.
But this is what Cole Mathis actually looks like. There he is. He's having a bad hair day in this picture. Yeah.
He's the Larry Bird's kid.
He looks like a women's basketball coach.
He looks like a women's basketball player. He kind of looks like
that looks like
that's like Larry Bird's bastard son or something, you know.
Conan O'Brien and Pat Summitt had a kid.
Yeah. Or Larry Bird and Jerry West.
Yes.
Like if you had face matched those two guys, there you go.
I think he kind of looks like Johnny from Karate Kid.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That swoopy hair for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Johnny from Karate Kid would take that as a fucking insult, dude.
He shows no mercy to pitchers. Strike first, strike hard, show no mercy.
Wait, is this a pitcher?
Well,
he was.
He was. They're not.
Okay, because I was like, you're showing him with a batting helmet. Like,
yeah, first base,
we
third
don't do
base.
that anymore, do we?
Here he is, a pitcher, and he's not going to pitch though, and he probably shouldn't. Like, I mean, you know, not. If he had his ERA is okay, 3.83. I mean, they just like him better as a hitter, and he's also a third baseman, I guess. So this is
where we're at with Cubs draft picks. They're literally drafting guys who can pitch in the ninth inning in blowouts.
You see that a lot with two-way players. Training as a two-way player at a high level is really physically demanding. And so you see that a lot where if they're a two-way player and they're in college, it's like, okay, now it's time to like pick a side. Because we don't need a pitcher who's really good at hitting. But if you are really focused on hitting and you're good at that, let's just go ahead and be good at that, because you clearly aren't so good at pitching that you've decided to do that, which is the much more lucrative side of the ball to play on.
I'd be looking at that $700 million price tag if I were a kid who was
so true.
Be like, hey, baby, whoa! I just stepped on my mic.
Yeah, but if you don't feel like you're good enough as a pitcher to go for that whole hog, then guess what? You're a hitter, buddy. You're a hitter with a good arm.
I got something else to say about Cole. Is that today is his 21st birthday? So happy birthday!
Good. We'll get the police reports tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's got that draft bonus, baby. He's buying.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah. He got drafted in the second round, and he's about to buy his second round.
Yes. I've never seen a whiter man with a blacker name. That's the
So, and then we also got this kid. Now, this was kind of a huge swing. And now I know that by the time we get to the third round, you're in the hundreds, right? Or about, right? In the hundreds.
Yeah, it was picked 90.
90 is when Ronnie Cruz was picked.
Yep.
And this kid is a high school guy, but he's really from the Dominican Republic, but he's been living in Florida. Kind of like, wasn't there another Cub that did that? Was it Soler or was it?
No, Soler was an IFA.
I mean, Javi was from Puerto Rico and went to school in Florida.
Yeah, that might be who I'm thinking of. But so this was kind of a bigger swing, right? This Ronnie Cruz. I'm gonna share a video here. He's so skinny, this kid. Look at this kid. He's a switch hitter. He's got legs the size of toothpicks. Can you guys see this?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
He is very thin.
Well, he's 17.
Well, he's very young, so he got really tall really quick. Obviously has about 10 years to fill out his frame.
Yeah,
I don't hate the swing.
Well, this is the bigger swing, right? I mean, that you're like, they saw something in this kid that they really liked, so they thought that they would draft him third, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm watching him hit against a guy throwing 75 miles per hour, and he's awesome.
He's one that was kind of off the charts.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, where did this guy come from? Like, how do you scout a guy like this? I mean, what are they thinking when they're taking in the third round, which seems kind of high that, you'd be taking a high school kid.
Evan, I'm terribly curious what you think, because you're really smart about stuff like this.
I mean,
you don't have to do that to him. He knows.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows he's smarter than me about this stuff. It's fine.
No, I mean, it's all like at this stage, it's all about projectability for him, right? You're looking at this kid. You figure he's going to, he's got to add another 20, 25 pounds, right? I mean, he's got to bulk up a little bit and grow into that, but he's super wiry. And I don't really see anything personally. And all I'm seeing is the swing. Right. I don't like it because it's all long levers, and it's the kind of thing that he'll get eaten alive by legitimate pitching. It's going to take him a while. But when you're drafting a kid who's 17 years old, you're not doing it expecting him to do anything for the next two. I mean, he may not even be an affiliated ball, right? Like they may send him down to the Dominican or whatever. He may stay in the Arizona Complex League for 2 or 3 years before we even see him at Myrtle Beach. So they obviously see some stuff there, the twitchiness and all that, whatever you want to ascribe to it, but I don't like it. When that swing, to me, it looks like he's getting bullied by the ball on a couple of those. But again, he's like my son's size. My son's 15, so
right.
I see Wheelo in the middle there, like getting real nervous for 2 years, 3 years from now when he breaks out and goes to single A.
Yeah, he's going to be.
I feel like, his prescription his prescription, like his job for the next 2 to 3 years is eat meat and lift things.
Yep.
Right. Like he needs to like grow into his height.
That's literally my job.
I'm scared shitless right now.
Yeah. Look, Eric's shaking in his boots.
IFG, the Mariners were close to signing him out of the Dominican before he went to Miami.
So there's a couple of people, and Mike, that's one thing I heard on your show when you had Greg Zumak on, was that when you've got a guy like this that you're scouting, it like in the first round or two, everybody kind of knows who everybody wants, and the chips fall. And
their signability and all that stuff,
and their signability and your slot and all the money you got to pay. And what you can afford. And then when you get to the third round, and this does seem still maybe kind of high, maybe it's not, but when you get to a Ronnie Cruz, it's a surprise pick, and you hold it close to your vest. You don't tell anybody about Ronnie Cruz. You don't, you never, Ronnie who? Oh, Cruz.
First rule of Ronnie Cruz is
I meant Tom Cruise. What's that?
First rule of Ronnie Cruz is you don't talk about Ronnie
Cruz.
You
don't talk about Ronnie Cruz, exactly. So what
Zumak was saying was that, they probably could have gotten him a couple rounds later, maybe, but that was a guy they saw. So one of their scouts saw him, loved him for whatever it is they love about him. I have some of the same thoughts that Evan does on the long swing and how much stuff's moving. But you get guys like that. He wasn't a guy committed to play high D1 major. He was going to go to Miami-Dade College and play baseball. So it's not like you got to pay him, double slot to get him out of Oklahoma or off of Texas A&M or something like that. And I think they just saw an opportunity to take a couple guys in the middle, get them about slot. I think pretty sure they got him under slot. I don't remember the actual number, to save up some money for some other guys like on day 3 and a little bit later in day 2. And roll the dice. We'll see what
some of those guys, because there's Ty Southsean, who I saw from Rich Beesterfield, another guy who's covering a lot of this stuff. He said, fun fact, Southsean, am I saying Southsean?
Greg was saying Southsean.
Southsean, it means do the best you can in Thai, and his parents are from Thailand and Laos. But that sounds like loser talk. Do the best you can.
It sounds like that's why Jed Hoyer drafted him.
It's like a failed Joe Madden slogan. Jed
Hoyer's like, I tell that to guys all the time. He's perfect for our team.
Just get out there and make Ricketts money. He went to, and this, I saw a lot of people making fun of this. This is a mock draft that he went to Basic High School. And I looked up Basic High School.
He's a basic bitch.
And did you know, that I didn't know that you could leave reviews on Google for high schools. So I pulled up a couple of some of the students.
You
Margaret
can when
J.
it's paved to play.
I only do the 1-stars because they're funny. Margaret J said, I went to basic high school for festival. The choir room's door was chipping. There were no windows, and it was dark in the choir room. The riders were at a 90-degree angle and were scratched up.
Is that supposed to be risers?
Riders, yeah. It must be risers.
I think you're right, Evan. I think it's risers.
Yeah.
And if they were at a 90-degree angle, you're not standing on them. That means they're folded up. Dumbass. Fold them.
Yeah.
This was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It kind of feels like this person doesn't understand acoustics.
Yeah.
I don't know how many windows you want in a room where you're going to be singing and all this
or
stuff.
swinging. I would not want a lot of windows in the room where I'm swinging.
No windows in the swinging.
Depends on
room.
what you're into.
That is true.
So
this is a high school in Florida.
Put a pineapple.
No, this is in Nevada.
Outside of Las Vegas.
And then
same thing.
We have this one too from
Western Florida.
Nick Bees said he's got 567 reviews. This is one of them. He said, I had the best time in the drum line. Not too great of a time with the teachers. Apparently
Typical
not.
drum corps.
Well, they spelled 2 wrong, so that probably didn't.
Also typical drummer.
Apparently they're focused on educating.
Educating.
Yeah, that's what he got to. They need to focus better on that.
But he was going to give a better review. He said, this was at 3 stars before I saw on the news that Basic shames dropouts. Basic is the worst institution of education I have ever experienced. You need to focus on educating, not shaming those who you failed on. He dangled his participle there. This isn't right. I'm going to talk to my attorney about this as it isn't right. So just...
This is the plot line to it's killing me that I can't think of this right now.
Why shouldn't they shame people that dropped out of their school?
I think
they
it's
wouldn't
very
be dropping
funny.
out if it was a better focus on educating.
He feels so bad about how shamed he is for dropping out of school that he's going to go find somebody with an advanced degree to help him.
That's what you
Maybe
need.
one that way, yeah.
Does he know how much lawyers are? That's the real question.
And this one is from Bella Richmond, actually 2 stars. It says,
Pump Up the Volume. That was the plot line from Pump Up the Volume. Do you guys remember that movie from 1990?
Thank God you pulled that out. We were all waiting.
It was killing me. It's Christian Slater. I love this movie.
Well, no one else really.
Was that before or after Gleaming the Cube?
Podcast now.
So Bella Richmond said, I have to say, one of the worst schools I've been enrolled in, absolutely no communication with staff and parents. I was suspended for 2 days and I wasn't even aware about it.
I wasn't.
So you must not have been at school. So you were just
double negative. I wasn't suspended for 2 days and I wasn't even aware of it.
I was not even aware.
Yeah.
That's amazing that he was skipping so much. He didn't realize they told him not to come.
9 times?
How many high schools do you have to go to that you have a ranked list?
Exactly. One
it's
of the
military,
worst schools.
Brad. Be nice.
I was gonna say, I gotta wonder if this is by a base.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little serious here. I'm afraid to come to this school because I've gotten jumped. Head staff doesn't care about the students. I met some really good friends there, but the teachers are below par and don't teach you much. I have learned more in the 6 hours I've been homeschooled than the 6 months I've been at basic. So
It sounds like he wasn't really there for 6 months. Skipped all the damn time.
I got jumped, but I met some really good friends there.
They saved my life. So,
they gave me CPR and mended my leg.
So hopefully, they've got a good baseball program because they don't seem to have a good much of anything else. And you'd think they would rename it something else. But before we let you go, Eric, I know you said you got to jump off, but do you know who the Brewers drafted and who is going to be tormenting us in the future?
Oh, I have a it's we got Braylon Payne and Blake Burke were our 2 top studs.
Payne, huh?
Yeah.
Gonna cause us pain.
Further, what do we got here? 17-year-old outfielder from Southeast Texas. One of the youngest players eligible. So we're looking to hit that Jackson Cheerio thing again. And then a 20-year-old power hitter from Northern California. First baseman that Brewers fans are really excited about because we have not drafted a first baseman in a very long time that could be a power bat and just solidify that position for the Brewers. So
and also because Brewers fans just get excited about any first baseman. Remember all that rowdy talk you guys had?
Well, we had Prince before that. These are big shoes to fill. Guys with the Pirates. But I will say, we know what to do with them. So whatever.
Put them on
we
the Ryan
do,
Braun pharmaceutical plan.
That's true. Well,
the same thing Yelich is on. Just turn on those fans up in the upper deck.
There we go.
Every time he's up to bat, you should.
Something about left field that just makes your back go out.
Something about it. I don't know. Oh, I'm gonna need a prescription, but don't worry about what's in that little vial.
Well, anywho, we drafted better than you. I don't have to know much about it. I just assume we do. That's the way it goes. All right. See you later.
I remember a time when the Brewers used to be the farm team for the Yankees, and I prefer that time.
So, and then I do want to talk about this guy because I think this is one of my favorite guys that we got in the draft. Ariel Armas, and he comes from the same school that Chris Bryant went to, and we all know how well that went for at least a while.
Speaking of very tall third baseman,
well, this guy's a catcher, and I like it because his name is Armas, and his arm will throw your ass out. Arm-ass. Perfect.
Okay, but this is not
or
good.
Maybe he's just getting fisted.
I mean, arm and ass are like the two things that I'm really looking for in a catcher anyway.
So
this is the problem. Two of the first three things talked about his sister and not him.
Yeah, I know. This is the what I'm making fun of him about. This is the mock draft. So is born to Albert and Deborah. That's fine. But he's got one sister, Gabriella. But this is his bio on his page. And then it goes on to say his sister, Gabriella, played tennis at college and received Freshman of the Year and all these awards. Didn't say anything about Armas. About Ariel Armas, except for that he completed over 100 hours of community service, which means he probably did something bad and got sentenced to it, because who the hell else does community service unless you got sentenced to it? And he got a 4-point GPA, which is a B. I wouldn't be bragging about that either.
No,
that's
I feel like as a millennial, I need to come in and like translate modern high school for y'all Gen Xers.
For me, 5 was a A.
4.0 is an A, so he has above an A average, which means he took advanced classes. 100 hours of community service means he was trying to get ahead in his college acceptance applications. So he probably spent a lot of Saturdays.
That's not why I had 100 hours of community service.
I mean, either that or there was somebody pretty there. But like,
that didn't happen either.
Not everybody's a degenerate, Cotton.
They thought you were real pretty, though.
You got a pretty mouth.
But no, 4.01 GPA means he has above a solid A average.
Yep.
So he also played in the 2015 Little League World Series, if you want to feel old.
That's very cool.
And I did look it up. I'm going to make fun of him because it's a mock draft. His team lost to Texas. They did not even get to play in the final games or anything like that. They just pretty much lost. And also, he enjoys playing the piano and surfing in his spare time.
And there's no commas in there, so I have to assume he's doing both of those things at the same time.
Yeah. A big-ass surfboard or a small-ass piano.
So, I mean, but this guy I'm excited about. He's a catcher, supposedly a defensive whiz. What Greg Zumak said on your show, Mike, was that, and I think I heard it on the Prospect show, and it was like all the Prospect dudes were there. Like the Gregs were there, the Brian was there. Like it was a whole Prospect show, and they were talking about how this guy could end up just being one of those dudes has like quietly a 10-year career as just an awesome catcher, which means that we're going to love this guy.
Wait a second. But if it's quiet,
he's like a Victor Caratini.
No.
We gave him away for free.
Most of that 10-year career came someplace other than Chicago, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's the only problem. Well, here's what I dig about this, right? So you mentioned he went to the University of San Diego, Chris Bryant's alma mater, but then Ty Southison is from Henderson, Nevada, and actually worked with Mike Bryant as a youth player up until he got into high school, and then he kind of got into that. So it's kind of interesting to have like two sort of, not that, KB's gone, obviously, but it is kind of interesting how one way or another, it gives you, and I'm not saying like, oh, because Chris Bryant went to USD, they're looking for guys there, but you can see where they've got certain pipelines or where their scouts kind of have their eyes set. If you look at those trends, there's a reason the Cubs kept getting dudes from Coastal Carolina for a while there. Like that was a common thing because they've got Myrtle Beach down there. Coastal would play there. They get eyes on them more frequently. I like looking at little things. And before I forget, because I forgot when Wheelo was still on here, and we talked about Prince Fielder, the Brewers just signed Prince's son, Jaden, to a deal as an undrafted free agent. So you want to feel old, like crumble away into dust, right? It's like there's Cecil and then Prince and now Jaden Fielder, who's a 19-year-old who just got signed, of course, by the Brewers. So I'm sure they believe he's going to be the second coming or the third, as it
the
may
third
be.
coming.
That's a lot. I have a refractory period, so I don't make it to 3.
And then one of the only other guys,
he used the big words, so we are not going to get dinged on that.
I just think it's funny that it's 10 years later and Mike Bryant's still telling the Cubs front office what to do.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
If only they had listened the first time.
Honestly,
Maybe not. Maybe that wouldn't. Who knows?
No, honestly, the only thing I thought when you told me that was, oh, great, more guys that won't adjust their swing for any reason ever.
Well, I mean, it worked out for Chris pretty well until it didn't. I mean, and then it was more about the injuries. But
I don't know. I'm not getting paid $130 million to sit on the couch and drink chocolate milk. So
that would be nice.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Evan?
No, I was going to say, he did make a lot of adjustments. Actually, when you look through the things, the problem was just the injuries by the time he had gotten to, really year 4 caught up with him in kind of a big way. But there were a lot of things, and I'm not telling anybody to go back and look at them now because it's all old news. But I chronicled that because I just talked with Mike a lot. He's actually texted me during this show, interestingly enough, just about random stuff. But
he said, mention me.
Yeah, but it's just kind of funny to see. Yeah. He's like, hey, talk about Ty.
He has no idea what our fan base is like. He's like, you're on a podcast?
Oh, no, I think he knows. Right? That's where it's like, yeah, unfortunately. But it was, but that's the other thing. So we're talking about, so I'll maybe relate this back to Ronnie Cruz here, right? We're used to Chris Bryant batting. He had that wide stance. He had the deep crouch, like a not quite Jeff Bagwell crouch, but but if you saw him in high school, he was completely upright with a narrow stance. So it was really interesting.
Like
and again,
up there.
yeah, Jesus, how my son saw that the other day. He was like, "What is he doing?" But like I would hate to watch him against Brent Suter. I would vomit in my mouth if I saw those two face one another. But again, go back to Ronnie Cruz, and that's what I was talking about. Like you see all these weird things. You got to remember, okay, like it's a sculptor looking at a block of marble and seeing a statue in it, right? So that's where a lot of these guys, and when you're drafting that young, but then when you're drafting the older guys, you're like, okay, we're pretty much done with it. Now we just need to polish up a couple of things, and so we hope we can do that, and that's where I think that's going. But again, the Armas kid, I think, is one of those where they're looking at it saying, yeah, man, you've got all these tools. Like we just need to kind of polish that a little bit. But I think they look at this kid as someone who can move quickly, especially given their catching situation that hasn't come to fruition the way they'd hoped. And so if this kid can move quickly enough, they might actually be able to have someone who can stick back there. We'll see.
Well, that's the balance, right? Like you want to get some guys with that are going to move quickly. They're college bats. Hopefully they can get to AA, AAA quickly, like Matt Shaw did. And then you want some guys with more upside. Like maybe we can really turn this guy into something big. Obviously, you're not going to hit on most of those guys because baseball's really hard.
And that was kind of my takeaway. It's like they never really, because it's 5 years away, they're not drafting usually for current needs, but maybe for system needs when you get down, when they're trying to backfill this whole thing. And also you got guys that are blocked and currently have jobs that maybe you're starting to walk away from, dudes towards the end of their minor league careers. People age out, people age in. So you got a lot of moving parts. And like you said, less jobs, but also more independent ball jobs. Maybe you go to Korea, maybe, you could figure out different things out. But one guy that this was a typical Cubs signing was Ryan Gallagher, who, because he had Tommy John surgery, I think he's currently rehabbing. So they loved, that's the old Cubs that we know and love. But they really didn't draft too many high-end guys, except for that Ronnie Cruz dude, who might have a high ceiling, if more like a lottery ticket kind of ceiling, not like a Bryce Harper kind of ceiling, where you're seeing this kid on the
It's
cover
like Jed's
of
in
Sports
charge.
Illustrated. But one dude I saw, and I'll make fun of him real quick, is Ivan Brettauer. That guy could have a high ceiling just because he's a huge dude, and he went to St. Thomas Aquinas High School. But the only thing I know about St. Thomas Aquinas is that he died in 1274. So I can't imagine what kind of knowledge they'd be bestowing you on a high school named after a man who didn't ever even take a hot shower in his life.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Thomas Aquinas was really into bees. I think he was a beekeeper.
The bee guy?
Yeah, I went to a Catholic university, and I believe that name came up, and I think it had to do with bees.
Well, this guy can sting the ball. University of California, Ivan Brettauer. First
what
of all,
a transition. That was beautiful. Everybody, come on. Everybody's got to give it up for that.
That's a pro move over
He
there.
said to sting the ball.
but a guy named Ivan, that you could hit fucking dogs.
It's either that or he's a prick. But yeah, I mean, but he is. No, that's a large human being. And so I do think we're seeing that a lot too. So we talk about the college game, kind of how that's evolved. And if you look at the rosters of the teams that made the College World Series, I think they were like 3 guys total who were under 6 foot and like 180 pounds or whatever. And maybe one of those was an everyday type of player. And that guy was a senior, I think. So and you see it, like we talked about, you showed, who's that cubby, and it's a little guy. And it's like, but you point that out that it's a little guy. And you look up and down, it's like, man, if you're under 6 foot, like you are a small dude. That wasn't the case in the 80s and 90s, right? Like these are all like Ian Happ is not a big dude at all. No. Right? Like, and he's a 6 foot ish. I mean, he's listed at that. That might be fudgy.
Like maybe in cleats standing on second base, but
in heels.
Back when he had more hair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
when he was doing the hair club. Yeah.
But
I mean, like even Kyle Schwarber isn't tall, right? Like he's a big dude, but he's not tall in baseball.
Yeah,
height.
But I think that's part of it. Is that again, when you look at development and you see, well, what do we have to do here? And it's kind of a cheat to where you're saying, okay, this is already a physically developed, like grown ass man. Mm-hmm. We can get him into the system against dudes who are going to be at his same age or maybe a little bit younger, but like his physical age. Maybe even greater than his chronological age. And so he's coming in there looking like he's 25 years old. Right. He may be able to figure things out more quickly, especially with that kind of power. And I think the Cubs look at that. They do lack power at the major league level. They have not done a good job. I would argue that they've not only have they done a poor job of developing, but then the positions they put those guys in as they've called them up and the way they've used them, I think is also unenviable. Yeah, we could less than ideal. So I think this is one of those dudes who they're looking at like, yeah, it's just awful. Yeah. But it takes away some of the margin for error, or I should say it actually increases your margin for error when you get these guys who have gone through these college seasons that have played in the Cape Cod League or some other college summer league, wood bats, especially, again, as I mentioned earlier. That's what they're trying to do is see, can we find a cheat code somewhere that we can move some of these guys along. And Mike, I think what you were talking about too is how can we kind of save some of that room at the back end of some of these minor league rosters for developmental guys while still finding some fast track players at the same time. And this dude could be that, or, maybe he ends up being another Jordan Wogu who just kind of like, boy, they hit a moonshot every once in a while and look hot for a while. And it's like, all right, you're just a big dude who can hit it real hard, but consistency is not really there.
Yeah. And when Greg and I were talking about it, he said on the one hand, he's got that massive power. So if he figures it out and cuts the swing and miss and can use it, awesome. He might skyrocket, or he may never hit his way to AA. You just don't know. But one thing I do like, just personal preference anyway, is I like a guy who does at least one thing really well, and then see if he can go exploit that.
Yeah.
And so this is one of those picks. So.
I have to argue against Cotton a little bit. He's putting lies under my name too, because number one, I didn't go to college, much less a Catholic university, but I do know that St. Thomas Aquinas was one of the great medieval philosophers who talked about the arguments for the existence of God and morality and all of those other things, and had nothing at all to do with bees.
Yeah, and that's what I said. It has nothing to do with bees, and I think everybody understands.
It went out under my name, Cotton.
I like that this is when you fact check
under
yourself.
everybody's name.
Did he know anything about slugging outfielders named Ivan? That's really all I care about.
He knew about slugging the wine that you get on Sundays.
the church wine. Oh, that good church wine. So then they signed a bunch of these guys to just a bunch of names. I'll just kind of go through them. Evan Aschenbeck. So that's going to look good on the back of a jersey. Cameron Cisneros. I like that name. That's
a good name.
Up. Hayden Frank. Oh, Frank the Tank. We could get Frank the Tank. Anybody for another one of those?
That worked out well.
Christian Gordon. 2 first names, two last names too. Thomas Mangus. Kind of like that guy. Sounds like a slugger. Is he?
Magnus. There's a dick joke in there. I like it.
He's a pitcher. Right-handed pitcher.
Shoot.
Magnus was
put a lot of Magnus force
guys
on the ball on his on his elbow. Or that's Valgus. Magnus is get a little spin on the ball. Who knows?
Put a little Mangus on it. Owen Ayers. And I'm just going by names here. And Braden Reisdorf or Rizendorf. I'm not sure how to say that one. Reisdorf, but I like the Reisdorfs.
They got a Braden and a Hayden. This sounds like a youth league. It's like a 13U team here.
Yep. Well, that's what it's going to be.
Sounds like every kid born in 2003.
Like Braden Reisdorf tried to bully me in debate club.
So we got all those guys, and I did think it would be fun to just look back 5 years ago to say who we drafted and see what the hell happened with those guys. So I will tell you that the only guys that are currently on the Cubs that were drafted in that class went 12th and 13th. They are the comedy stylings of Biggie and Hodge. So a couple of pitchers, and that's when they were drafting a bunch of pitchers, trying to see what would stick, and a couple guys did. They're coming out of the bullpen. Biggie throws gas. So it's Hodge.
It'll be interesting to follow that once we get like 5 years clear in 2021 when the current Dan Kantrovitz took over and start comparing, because I think they've been doing a better job with the draft and evaluating talent than Jason McLeod was doing before.
There were some absolutely brutal drafts in there that if you look back, you're like, there's like nobody in this entire draft that even made it to the majors, at least not with the Cubs. Like,
I'll tell you who they are. Ryan Jensen went number 1 that year. Ooh. He was claimed off waivers by the Twins, where he currently has a 4.20 ERA. I believe in and out of. He's the only one that's like actually had a cup of coffee, I think, at the major league level. Chase Strumpf from that year still sits in Iowa. I don't know what he's kind of blocked. There's his numbers. He's got a 803 OPS throughout his minor league career. 59 homers. I mean, it's been okay. He's been doing well, right? I mean,
yeah,
right.
He's been a solid organizational player,
but he hasn't played his way to the majors.
Just living the dream in Des Moines.
Played his way over the no trade clauses we have in the corners.
Yeah, and he's a middle infielder, so like, what are you gonna do?
Oh yeah, that's even. Oh gosh, why did I think he was an outfielder? I don't know. I'm getting mixed up with all the other 8 million outfielders.
Not gonna play his way over the guy who's making more money than Bryce Harper for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, don't remind me. Then there's Michael McAveen, who is from McAveen. He's
University of Louisville.
He's at Tennessee. He's got a 5.04 career ERA in the minors. Chris Clark. He's currently injured. He's at Iowa. Josh Bergman got hurt and then retired. Ethan Hearn remains a catcher in high A. Never made it above there. He's got a 187 career minor league batting average, so that's why he remains. Must be a good defense guy or organizational dude.
Once upon a time, that was a totally acceptable catcher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like in 1987, maybe, but
still is for the Cubs.
Rich Gedman-esque.
Right, that's starting.
That'd be pretty good for the Cubs. I mean, does he have is WRC plus above 50? Well, like, he's got a spot.
Yeah, he does at high A though.
I mean, call him up, bring him up.
Might as well.
Brad Depperman, he's still in rookie ball. and he's got a career minor league ERA of 4.45. And then there was DJ Hertz, who was traded with Kevin Made for Jamer Candelario. He's been in 8 games for the Nationals this year, where he's got an ERA right around 5. His cup of coffee. So they did shitty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was a bad draft. And that was a Theo and Jed draft. Jed was in that room drafting those guys. I guess Theo had the final say, but I can't say that I have a complete confidence that this draft went any better. We just went through all these names. It was fun to make fun of them.
Yeah.
And mock them.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, I mean, I that's the tough thing about the baseball draft is it's so different, right? Like in the NFL draft, if you're taking a guy in those top few rounds, you're very much expecting him to come in and have an impact immediately.
Oh, yeah. At 14, you're drafting a starter.
Yeah. Like you could very much draft a guy, again, NBA, like he's going to get real minutes. You know, it's only 2 rounds or whatever. But then with this, you're like, we might be picking a dude, again, Ronnie Cruz, our 3rd pick, might not ever be, but if he does, we're looking at, if he makes it in 5 years to Chicago, that's really, really good.
Yeah, he'll be 22.
Yeah, and that would be a pretty quick move through. So for any of these guys to actually hit in a meaningful level, and then to say like, but if our farm system is ranked number 2, well, there should be a whole bunch of dudes between now and then blocking these guys that just got drafted. So now, if that actually works, I'm skeptical about it. You can actually start making some trades, unless Jed continues to embrace them with such fervor that they'll never ever let any of them go.
Yes,
we'll see.
I mean, you've painted the major league team into a corner with all the no trade clauses and the big contracts that are underperforming. You've got some room in the pitching, and we're starting to see that emerge. You know, with the, like just mentioned, Biggie and Hodge. So, I mean, and it obviously just hasn't worked this year. So now they zag after zigging with the pitchers, and you get a bunch of bats and maybe one. I think what's killing us now is all the high floor situations and just no big kind of dude that's emerging. And, you know, whether it,
and you can get away with that if you spend some money or some prospect capital and go get the star. Like the Cubs don't have to develop the star. It would be awesome if they could.
Well, we certainly they're going to have to, because they're sure as shit not going to spend on them. That's the only problem. The other problem, though, and here's the troublesome part. I don't think there's anybody who actually believes they will spend what it takes to get Juan Soto, or that even if they did, that Soto would come to Chicago over another.
I think Soto's locked in New York at this point, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Beyond that, like you're looking at who's the next biggest star, Alex Bregman, Anthony Santander, like it's Soto, and then 9 yards crap, and then us, you know, and then whoever's it's a
and we're gonna have a lot more of that. I'm just saying, we're gonna have a lot more of that. Like
there aren't those stars, and the Cubs have either willingly, like they've done hey, we tried for a number of these guys for the last several years. And now you're running to a point where those dudes don't exist. And I don't believe I would love. I think Moises Ballesteros could be a great hitter in the majors. I think Owen Casey can be really, really good. I think Shaw can be good. I think James Triantos can be good. But I don't see any of them at their peak being any better than very good. It's the same thing they've got right now.
Most players aren't, right?
Right.
We don't have a Bryce Harper in the system.
What the Cubs need to do is they need to take some of that prospect depth, go find the next guy coming up from Miami or Colorado that is eventually going to leave as a free agent. Give them 5 pretty good players who are going to come up and go get that star.
Well, that's why I like talking about Jameson Taillon.
Yeah.
No, but that's when you guys were talking about Taillon and who he could get traded to, like, hey, look at Baltimore, baby. They racked up top draft picks for years with losing 100 games in a row. You got Jackson Holliday, who can't even make it up. Now, I'm not saying they're going to part with the number 1 prospect just because he struggled for a little bit, but they've got tons of young dudes, and there's still more that are there that are just as blocked because you can't go anywhere for the next 6 or 7 years.
There's still another guy at like 22. I'm blanking on his name, but
Yeah.
And they didn't just, tank for a bunch of years, but they also invested a shitload of money into their scouting and player development systems, probably more than any other team not called the Astros, and maybe even more than the Astros if you put it dollar for dollar. Like the Orioles really did focus on, learning how to identify and develop talent. And so if you're going to trade with somebody, you know how you always say when, like, if the Rays want to trade with you, don't do it. Like the Orioles are kind of the opposite of that. Like that, I don't think they have a whole lot of crap in the system that they're trying to unload on somebody.
Not to mention, like, they're hungry to win.
Yeah,
right? Like they really want, and they have the capital to do it. But they've been downtrodden for so long. A lot of that by choice. But right, you want to make sure you beat the Yankees. You want to beat the Red Sox. You want to beat the Rays. Like you've got it. The Blue Jays. Who cares at this point? But they really, really, I think, have a drive to make sure that it doesn't end up like last year when they win 100 games and then flame out quickly. Well, they want it, and they've got enough young dudes who are all there that they know we could do this. Kind of like Tyon, 2 years left, really makes a ton of sense for them. And if I'm them, I'm willing to part with a lot more than if the Yankees are interested. If the Astros are interested, you could bet your ass I'm going out and beating those dudes if I can add a starting pitcher.
Yeah, because who the Yankees are interested in right now, according to the rumors that I'm seeing anyway. It's Rich Hill.
Look,
I love him some Rich Hill more than anything. But Rich Hill decided that he was going to come back the second half of this season and try to get himself a ring, and so far it's working. But like, they're saying right now that it's like between the Yankees and the Dodgers in the second half of this season are looking at 45-year-old freaking Rich Hill to bolster their team to go to the World Series. And I don't want to trade with the Yankees if what they're looking at is Rich Hill. I love Rich Hill. I was like, hey, Cubs, sign Rich Hill for one more season because it would be fun and silly, and we're not doing anything good anyway.
We should have signed Rich Hill just to flip him at the deadline.
Exactly. See, I was saying this. Wasn't I saying this like at the beginning of the season?
I got to watch a game with Rich Hill once. I was living in Oklahoma City, went to the AAA game, and I sat down in my seat, and he was actually charting pitches right in front of me.
Delightful.
He was a great dude. Talked the whole game.
One of my all-time favorites. Adore the guy.
Wait, Rich Hill was doing that?
Yeah, because he was playing for the Iowa Cubs.
Oh,
this is back in like 2004.
Oh, okay. I was like, I can't imagine Rich Hill being young. Come on.
Yeah. He was one of those guys that always looked old, kind of like that guy that we drafted.
But also, Evan, to your point about the
Nat King Cole,
the Orioles losing for so long, it was their choice, but they threw that on their fans, and so now they're kind of coming out of this, and they're kind of like the Cubs were in 2016. I mean, not 100 years of history and all that, but they're going to be extra motivated to go get what they see as that one more piece. Yep. And this is when, I'm fine if they trade Jameson Taillon. If they just dump Jameson Taillon, I'm going to be pissed because could still have a good pitcher for 2 more years. But if you can use this and go get that desperation trade play, go do it.
Yeah. So, Mike, Evan, you're more than welcome to stick around, but we're going to go to a quick commercial and then come back and just quickly talk about the Royals series. But if you could be involved in that, if or not, I know I told you that we're already half past a whole half hour past.
I'm gonna peace out, but I appreciate hanging out and being able to ramble for an hour or so. This is great.
Well, I love the work you do at Cubs Insider, and you're always keeping us all abreast on these guys because I certainly don't want to look them all up. And Mike, you too. With having
that's why I bring Zumac on, because he does all the hard work I don't do. So.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why I didn't bring a Greg on, because I was like, well, Mike already brought a Greg on, so I'm just going to bring Mike on and he can tell me what Greg said.
Thank you for joining us for group therapy.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to play a commercial for In the Clutch, one of our sponsors, and we're going to give away an In the Clutch shirt later on in the show. So we'll be right back.
If you like the Cubs a bunch, buy your t-shirts from In the Clutch. We've got all the best styles for you. Dansby, Seiya, Morel too. Clark Fly in his W. Cody Bellinger smoking deuce. Vintage shirts from days of old. Patrick Wisdom and Nico. You'll look sharp wearing your stro. 10% off with the code SONRANTO. SONRANTO. InTheClutch.com is your store for the most fun baseball shirts on the planet. Don't forget to use promo code SUNRANTO to knock a couple bucks off your purchase. Stack or die, we need more cups. Get it all at In The Clutch. Cause if you like the Cubs a bunch, buy t-shirts from In The Clutch. Get it all at In The Clutch. Get it all at In The Clutch.
I am also wearing an In The Clutch shirt. Look at, I got the Fly the W on.
They're certainly flying a W in that shirt.
Yeah, I can't wear it pretty much anywhere except on this show. I do want
my custom.
Are you ready?
Nice.
I'm ready. Here
we
go.
Go.
So I want to share.
I do wonder about the curious case of Miles Mastrobuoni.
Yeah, yeah, you're not going to be able to use that.
Itching.
What if they trade him? Who would want him?
It's a real mystery boner.
I want to share some of these Ranter shirts that you could also buy on Amazon as well. I'm going to share the link in the chat. Ranter pullover hoodies. They've got zip up hoodies. I forget to sell these things. So, but I think they're pretty cool. I own that shirt, in fact, and I'm going to share the link for it in the chat. If you go to Amazon and you go to Sunranto Swag, SONRANTO swag, you could see all the things available. There's actually tons of stuff that I forgot that I put there like 5 years ago. So go buy it.
I keep thinking one of these days I'm going to make like a pink and purple and sparkly and flowery jersey that says Fly Girl across the top, but like nobody's going to want it but me. But I would still want to make it just for the fun of it.
Funny about these Ranter.
I can put it here next to my Seiya Suzuki.
It's the same with the Ranter shirts. Nobody wants them but me. It's pretty much it. So let's see how fast we can get through this sucker. At Kansas City, the Cubs are going there. It's they're third in the Central behind Cleveland and Minnesota. Cleveland right now is tied for the best team in baseball with the Orioles, the aforementioned Orioles. They the Royals just swept the White Sox and then lost 2 of 3 from Arizona. We know what that's like because we just did it. Their offense is basically Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt Jr., who's an incredible baseball player. Sal Perez still hanging in there. That's cool to see. You know, he's won the World Series with them. He's still around. And I know that he was offered some money to go somewhere else, and he stayed with Kansas City. I don't know if it was for less, but he's going to be a lifer there, I guess. Did he start with them? Did he come up with Kansas City, Salvador Perez?
I think yes.
If he's been here that long, you would assume.
So I looked up some just kind of who's coming in hot numbers. Would you know that over this last month, the A's actually lead the majors in OPS? Baseball's weird. The A's lead baseball in OPS over the last month.
Salvi was KC from the start.
Yep.
So this Royals team, at least for this last month, they do not walk. They do not strike out. They're putting the ball in play. They are the anti-Cubs who just look to walk. They both Bobby Witt Jr. and Michael Garcia will steal bases, but they don't really, as a rule, steal a lot of bases. In pitching, the Cubs actually over this last month have an incredible team ERA. They are third in baseball in team ERA over this last month with a 2.83. KC is fifth, though. They're playing really, really well. And they strike out a lot of guys. We don't really. We're supposed to rely on the defense. We're not a lot of swing and miss stuff. We have the sixth.
Bullpen's getting better.
It has been better, but we still have the 6th most walks per 9. They have the 9th most. So we are walking guys. Their closer is a guy named James MacArthur, who's 6'7". And I never heard of him. And he doesn't seem like maybe that's something they'd be looking to add because I think could do better than this guy. Chris Bubick has been good out of the pen, and I only remember him because we called him Chris Pubic.
Didn't see that one coming.
They also got a guy who I've never heard of, who I really like his name, Angel Zerba, or maybe it's on.
That's a great name.
Zerba the Greek, except for I don't think he's Greek. And then they got Will Smith over there, but it's a pitcher, Will Smith.
How many Will Smiths do we need? We got a Will Smith, a pitcher, the Will Smith, the catcher. Now we got another Will Smith, the pitcher. That's the
lefty that's bounced around the league forever, right?
It's the same Will Smith.
Oh, it's the same Will Smith, the pitcher. Okay, never mind. Not Will Smith, the Dodgers catcher.
Correct. And the KC is pretty good defensively, although our Durr is better by a little bit. We are in the 701, so that we pulled that up.
I can't believe that. Honestly.
Yeah, we pulled it up.
How much of that's PCA?
I was just gonna say that's PCA, baby. That's 100% PCA Durr. But KC does not commit a lot of errors. They are in the top of the league in defensive runs saved. Bobby Witt Jr. is a great shortstop. The Cubs are average in defensive runs saved. Salvador Perez still has it behind the plate. Cubs will not be running this weekend. 35% of runners, he's best in the majors. The Kansas City Royals are best at throwing runners out. The Cubs are at only 15%, one of the worst teams in baseball. And don't say anything about it being Wilson Contreras, because the Cardinals are worse than us. 14% in throwing out runners in that category. Yeah. So,
well, to be fair, Wilson Contreras did have a broken arm for a while.
Yeah. So it's not all his fault. And then you got the matchups. You got Hendo versus Singer. Hendo's got a 669 earned run average.
Nice.
Going against Brady Singer. He's 6-6 with a 3. That game's at 7-10. Then you got Imanaga on Saturday going against the ghost of Seth Lugo, who's having a great year. He's 12-4 with a 2.38 ERA. He's on a 3-year, $15 million a year. He's 34 years old, so they're getting
that's some devil magic right there.
What's that?
That's some devil magic right there.
Yeah. Seth Lugo finding it. I bet the Mets wish they had him still. And then you got Assad versus a lefty. So chalk this up to a loss. Cole Reagan's going out there, or Roggins. 110 first pitch. This kid's a first-round draft pick from the Rangers. He's got a bunch of different pitches, 95 miles per hour on the four seam. He throws a knuckle curve, slider, cutters. He changes speed. We might get no hit in this game, people. We might get no hit.
If I remember, I think we saw him twice last year because he was with Texas at the beginning of the year and we played them, and I think he was in their bullpen.
Is that the guy we saw twice?
And then he went to Kansas City and pitched against us later.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
So anyway, this kid is apparently good. And so we got our work cut out for us. But you got to listen to Cubs Pod.
Speaking of no hitters, did you guys hear what Dylan Cease did today?
Yeah, Dylan Cease. Yeah, bring it up. Yeah. Bring up what you just put in.
He hit no hit the Washington Nationals 114 pitch, 3 walk, 9 strikeout gem in which his fastball hit 100 miles an hour in the 9th on his 110th pitch. This is from Jeff Passan. He says on September 3rd of 2022, he gave up a hit with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and today he throws a second no-hitter of the 2024 season. I think if I do the math, officially, the Cubs have lost the trade.
Well, we didn't, because he didn't do it for the White Sox.
No, he did it for the Padres.
Yeah, I also hate the Padres.
Which, if you ask some Cubs fans, is even worse.
I'm kind of one of them. Yeah.
Well, and
Sox would be worse, though, in this case.
We did go to the playoffs.
Yeah,
the NLCS.
The curse is over. The curse is, Steve Garvey's got hairy arms. Curse is over. So, I don't like our chances. That the Royals are actually pretty good. The AL Central, I was a little shocked to see how well some of those teams have played in there. I mean, the Royals are above 500 and they're in 3rd. You're probably in 1st place in our freaking division. We're the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, and well, to be fair, I mean, I think today, yes, Dylan Cease threw a no-hitter, and then also the Chicago White Sox went 50 games below 500.
Yeah, Yumper was in here earlier trying to like cheer us up by saying at least we're not the White Sox who haven't even won 30 games yet.
Yeah.
20.
Somehow they're actually worse than they were
27,
expected.
I think.
27 and 77, yeah.
Oh,
God.
it's amazing.
Yeah. They might never win again. So Cubstradamus is here to predict what's next. He did send in a video today.
I
So
hate that shithead.
here he comes.
I'm gonna get a bit silly and hang out with my good friend Billy. We're watching the Reds while sharing a bed and covering each other's bodies in Cincinnati chili. Kamala Harris, 2024.
I honestly don't think he knows. Like who is running or when or why or how. He's just every week he puts out a new person's. He's kind of like these big donors who just give money to all of them.
I found out what happened. He's registered multiple super PACs, and he's just getting donation money. He's got a blue check mark on Twitter now, and he's just getting super PAC money.
That makes sense.
He's just equal opportunity. He's shilling for all of them. Even Biden he's still going for Biden, even though he dropped out. But the money's still green, and the checks are still coming.
Yeah, the thing about the Cincinnati chili though, it's the first time anybody's ever been covered in chili and improved their smell.
Well, I'll say this much about Billy and Cubstradamus hanging out and covering each other in chili. I could totally picture that being a fun night for those guys. Like, I don't want to be there, but I could see Billy enjoying it. Billy really loves that chili. I mean, any man that could chug a can of chili out of a beer bat. So, all right. So we got a Cubsler. We got a few announcements. We'll get through it as quickly as possible.
All right, let's do so this Cubler's been up for 2 weeks. We have a number of winners here with the correct answers. Are you going to put them in there? Yeah. So, okay.
I'll try.
So the old Cubsler, old Sarge could really knuckle down in relief. An 85 Hall of Famer, most wins in the pen, first 200 saves, first to 1,000 games, though only 3 were for the Cubs. He will helm the poker game in the clubhouse. Now, the last line kind of gives away his name, if you can get it. His name is Wilhelm Hoyt. Or Hoyt Wilhelm, sorry.
Yeah.
Hoyt Wilhelm. So you got Wilhelm right in the clue, and poker game. Those cards, Hoyt is a very famous card maker. So that's why that's in there. But a little bit about old Sarge. He fought in World War II. He was in the Battle of the Bulge and got a Purple Heart, and he had a piece of shrapnel lodged in his back for the rest of his life. When he got out of the military, he had to work his way through like the minor leagues to get into the system. He broke in with the New York Giants at the age of 29 years old. Now, we've seen a lot of 29-year-old rookies, and they're not all that impressive. The difference is that this rookie lasted 20 years.
Yep.
His last game was in 1972 at the age of 49.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And his win-loss record was positive.
Yes.
143 to 122, 228 saves. I got to say, Cotton, you might be a little bit, I don't know. I'm usually really bad at this game. I don't know a whole lot of baseball history. I kind of live baseball in the moment for the most part. But I saw 85 Hall of Famer. I just looked up 85 Hall of Fame inductees, and one of them was Lou Brock, so it definitely wasn't him. And so the answer had to be Hoyt Wilhelm. And so that just sent me on like on a mission to like learn everything I could about Hoyt Wilhelm. And like, he's a really interesting kind of guy. He played for a bunch of different teams. He is an 8-time All-Star. Like, a lot of cool stuff going on with that dude.
Absolutely. And, you know, like you said, these are not, they're hard, but the clues will actually Like you can pick up one of these clues and it'll draw you right. If you put in 200, like first player to 200 saves, you'd probably find him. But yeah, he was the first player to ever play in 1,000 games. Like he did all this stuff. But the interesting thing about his time with the Cubs, so in 1970, so this is the year after the famous 69 Cubs did not make the playoffs, they were making a push, and on September 21st, the Braves DFA'd Hoyt Wilhelm, and the Cubs picked him up. He played with the Cubs for 3 games, and then they traded him back to the Braves for
They're like,
Al
no,
Bradeen.
we take takesy backsies, please.
and it caused like a pretty big stir back in the day because people were just like, hold on, you're gaming the system here.
So I've got the wheel of names. Here's all the winners that picked Hoyt Wilhelm. It's Tom Cooper, Mike Waller, IFG.
Oh, I'm on the list. Cool.
You were the first one. You figured it out right there at the during the show.
Jeff Bjorn, Corey Furlong, Artie Boucher, and Chad Smeets all got the right answer. So we're gonna give it a spin and see who the winner is. And
Big
the
money,
winner
big money. No whammies. No whammies.
Oh, is it happening on the show to a guy that's sitting right here? It's Mike Waller.
Oh, Mike Waller walking away with it.
It's the first thing I've ever won on this show.
Good job, Mike Waller.
Congratulations. Well, you have to come on the show more often, I guess. So you got a Cubsler for this week?
Of course I do. Hold on, let me just mark Waller's name here as the winner. Okay.
I can put it up here for you.
There we go. The Cubs bullpen fireman and closer honored by Polish American Police Association. Dusty killed arms, but Baylor and Kim used this guy 95.2 innings in one season. So, a Cubs bullpen fireman and closer honored by the Polish American Police Association. Dusty killed arms, but Baylor and Kim used this guy 95.2 innings in one season. So there's a lot of clues in there.
Yeah,
I think
Don Baylor for one.
I think people are going to figure this dude out. But look, I've had a lot that were very hard. I've had some that I thought were easy that
it should
nobody
be
could get.
Somewhat easy and just send you on the rabbit hole you should be going on. So send your correct answers and your incorrect answers to sunranto@gmail.com and you will be entered to win nothing. Our love and admiration and some future prize that we'll make up at some point.
No, they'll get my voice as a voicemail, screaming their name in the Sunranto style.
Oh, that's right. I've totally forgot about that.
You
prize.
forget, Danny. You just got one of these.
I did
recently.
I did.
A little Ranny Docket out there.
I'll have to check my podcast feed. Couple of birthdays, a big one. Emily's just passed. Emily Cotton, Michael's wife, right? Am I correct about this?
Emily just caught up with me in age. So
happy birthday to Brandy Cologne, Robert Davies, Michael Carlson, who a lot of you guys know. He's one of the Ivy Envy dudes, lives out in the Quad Cities. He's been on their podcast a whole bunch. Also, Nicole Eriks and Tom Warman from Colexor. His birthday is the 29th. And also, John Baker Day is in 4 days. Just to remind everybody, John Baker Day is a coming.
Very nice.
So,
Hear that whistle blow.
Next week, I know it's trivia night for IFG, so you might not be here, but it seems like the way that the Cubs games are going, there's a Thursday night game in Chicago next week. So we'll have to do Wednesday after the Cincinnati game, do a late night, sort of, not late night, but they start at 6 and maybe it's over by 8:39, something like that. We'll see, but it will go next Wednesday. And also, I'm slated to sing the anthem in South Bend on August 10th.
How fun!
So I'm trying to get a Bleacher Bum Band gig. We're going to try to figure this out. It might be me and Bleacher Jeff. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Still working out details. So it was actually supposed to be this weekend, and I couldn't do it, and then they couldn't do it either. So it's all anyway. August 10th. Also, this is brand new. Dan Nielsen. A lot of you guys might know him as our fellow ranter who was around for a long time, and he died a little over a year ago. And his mom contacted me and said, for the second straight year, would like us all to do a game in the bleachers on his birthday. Cubs are in town. It's September 20th. A lot of them are going to be coming in from Nebraska. So I'm going to throw together like a pregame and postgame hang, and we're probably going to get some group tickets. So I made a Facebook event. Join that. I will contact everybody through that. Then I'll get some group tickets. We'll have to pay for them, and we'll go sit and make remember Dan in a very wonderful way. Then we got what's this? Oh, Cotton on the At the Show podcast with Yumper.
Yeah,
that's
so
in here too. Yeah,
Tom Garcia, otherwise known as the Little Yumper, has a podcast at Sadistic Penguin Studios, and I will put that into the chat here on all the things. If you want to look for that on YouTube, he does At the Show podcast. They talk about movies, and I will be going on there tomorrow to defend Iron Man 2 because they happen to be doing a superhero movie episode. So
I think that was the last one of those superhero movies that I saw in the theater.
Yeah, well,
I kind of gave up after that. Like it was like a lot. It wasn't great, but like it was fun.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's one of the worst ones, and of course, like always, not just in baseball, I disagree.
Fair. No, I just kind of like stopped going to see them, and then all of a sudden there were 97 that I hadn't seen yet. Now it just feels like homework to catch up.
Oh yeah. Well, and Lil Yumper jumping in there, so he does At the Show podcast. You can find it if you search whatever podcast you're At the Show. He does it with a guy named Tony. They talk movies. It's really fun, and it's a lot. It's a couple of Chicago guys, and then they definitely talk about any Chicago references within the movies, which I think is a lot of fun.
Hey, Cotton, check the messages. Did I get the Cubsler right?
Yes.
Woo!
Nice. 2 weeks
Y'all
in a
can
row.
do it.
So we've got a couple of things to give away. First of all, the Patreon prize of the month. Maybe you'll win this too, Mike.
Maybe.
It might be your night. So I'm going to share it here. There's 107 names in here. This is everybody that's paid up.
Much less of a chance to win this one, though.
Yes.
By the way, check to see if you're paid up because, sometimes when that numbers goes down, it's because your credit card expired or something like that. So here we go. Oh, Mike, it just went right past you. And the winner is Jonathan Mole.
Yay!
Congratulations, Jonathan, and thank you for being a Patreon supporter. And thank you for everybody on that list.
Congratulations.
Because I tell you, I am gung-ho about going to Japan. And I really think that we got to go to Japan. I definitely want to send IFG to Japan. I'm going to try to go to Japan. So I want to make a plea, and we're going to get more into this. Like, I got some bobbleheads I want to raffle off. I want to do all sorts of stuff to try to raise the money to go to Japan. And one of the best ways you could do that is by Patreon money. Subscribe to us on Patreon, and we will use the money to cover the Japanese series with Cubs. And I mean, it'll be a direct investment in your entertainment.
It might be fun if we're gonna raffle things off. I do have this Hiroshima Carp, Seiya Suzuki.
Oh.
It's not my favorite. It's not my most favorite one that's got like the cool embroidery on it, but it is the home whites Seiya Suzuki. Maybe just throwing it out there.
Very cool.
Well, I want to come up with any way that we can try to earn the money to get to Japan, get a couple tickets. It ain't cheap, obviously, but I'm already working on it. Like I'll get into the TFCs because that's Tatsuya. I went and looked up an old email from Tatsuya my friend in Japan, who my mom used to teach his wife English at the library. That's how I know this guy. He lives outside of Tokyo.
And Danny used to teach Tatsuya about Japanese history.
I wrote an entire book about the history of Japan and also liqueurs, because I gave Tatsuya his first taste of Malort, and I looked up in emails because I wanted to write to Tatsuya and be like, hey, I'm coming to Japan. You got to help me out. We need tickets. We need to know where to go. We need your help, Tatsuya. You're our boots on the ground. So I wrote to Tatsuya just the other night, and when I was looking up an old email, I saw the last thing Tatsuya said to me, and it's the TFC. So he says, hi, Danny. Thank you so much for sending your wedding card. I received your warm message and great photo. I bought 6 small Malorts in last August, so I still have a chance to slide it in and out of my mouth. Keep it.
Don't we all, Tatsuya?
Freaking Google Translate is freaking doing
That's
heavy
amazing.
lifting. Heavy lifting.
Well, I mean, it truly does slide in, and then it slides right back out for a lot of people.
For some, it truly does. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Now we have some I don't know if y'all know, but we have some great members of Japanese baseball Twitter who are huge Cubs fans, who are, in the greater Tokyo area. So there's a really good chance that we could meet some cool people. I know there's one guy, he's at Firefox, some numbers, I think 756 or something, who lives really close to Yokohama Stadium where Shota used to play. So we've already got plans. Like if I actually do make it to Japan, we're going to go and we're going to hang out. Like we've traded merch already. It's going to be a lot of fun. My friend Jojo lives there in Tokyo. He's a big Yakult Swallows fan. And yeah, man, dude, it would be so fun. I have so many people over there. I would love to go see my friends.
We're going.
Let me go see my friends.
We're going. I mean, I'm going, and I'm trying to get enough money so that we all go.
It would be amazing.
Yeah. Everybody but Bleacher Jeff. No.
All the money you thought you were going to give to him to go, give it to us.
I still think it would be really funny to do like a documentary, all like, I don't know, all like nature documentary style, where like there's somebody walking around just like teaching Bleacher Jeff what things are.
Yeah.
Like, this is Koshkin Stadium. This is the Colonel Sanders statue that the Hanshin Tigers threw into the river in 1984.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, it would be a nature documentary about how we took a Bigfoot over to Japan where Bigfoots don't exist.
No, there really is a story about the Hanshin Tigers throwing a statue of Colonel Sanders into the river and then cursing themselves with the curse of the Colonel that kept them from playing in the playoffs until like last year.
I remember this. We talked about this in the off season sometime. So I do have one more TFC, and it's just this Rick Sutcliffe story.
Ooh.
And I saw this from Cubs HQ on Facebook. It's a story from Mark Grace, actually. He said Rick Sutcliffe gave up back-to-back home runs in Cincinnati, and in Cincinnati, they shoot off fireworks after the Reds hit a home run. Sutcliffe was pretty intense on the day he pitched, so Eric Davis takes him deep, and Paul O'Neill takes him deep right after that. So Sutcliffe is all mad, and pitching coach Billy Connors comes out to the mound, and Sutcliffe yells at him, I know I gave up back-to-back home runs, but get your ass back in the dugout and tell Zimmer to settle down too. And Billy looks at him and says, I know you have everything under control, Rick. I just wanted to give that guy running the fireworks a little more time to reload.
Amazing. That's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's tremendous.
That is a great story.
Gotta love old baseball yarns.
Do you have a TSC, Cotton?
I don't. I looked around for some. I figure there's so much that should be out there, but people are just bored with this team, and nobody's really getting into like bitching about it. Like they're all the smart people have checked out. It's just dumb people.
Don't ever let me be accused of being one of the smart people who have checked out entirely, especially in an election year. Like if the Cubs are boring, hey, man, maybe politics will be interesting. I don't know. You can look at me on Twitter. My bio says, but Bass right throws left, or throws right, votes left. Not to get terribly political, except I'm going to. I was actually really happy with what's been happening the last couple of weeks. I asked for somebody who's not, a gently warmed corpse to be running for president, and that's exactly what I got. And what did I find out recently but that our new presumptive Democratic nominee is the kind that can truly bring two sides of an aisle that are just fundamentally opposed to each other for generations, really, and has found a way to just find harmony and togetherness and like just really bring two sides together. And here she is with her husband, who is for some reason a Dodgers fan, while she herself is a fan of the San Francisco Giants. We do love you, Kamala. Yeah. Nobody is perfect, and I won't say that she is, but I did ask for
those have got to be rough series. I know that if Emily was a Cardinals fan, I don't know. Right? I don't know if I could handle it.
Exactly. Yeah. And yet here she is just enjoying this. This photo is from like 2021 or something. And they just look delighted with each other. And there they are, a Dodgers fan and a San Francisco Giants fan. It's amazing.
You think they look delighted. I'm reading something totally different than that. The Giants have just won whatever series has happened because she is smiling at him as if like, yeah, got him. And he's kind of like, damn it. Okay.
That must have been when the Giants won the division. I got like 107 wins.
Oh yeah. That might've been.
Yeah. That's really nice though. I'm really excited too. I mean, and this is not really political. This is baseball, but at the same time, it's nice to see that there'll be a baseball fan. I mean, Trump's like a Mets fan, but is he really? That guy doesn't sit and watch it.
So that's kind of perfect, actually.
Yeah,
he was really into the team back when the guy was in the Ponzi scheme. Like he really liked that part of the game.
He was into the Madoff Mets. He probably loved the '86 Mets that were all high on coke and flying off to Epstein's Isle.
Hey, that's the last time they won the World Series. I was like 8 months old when that happened.
So I mean, yeah,
I think it was the last time my dad was ever happy about baseball.
Well, I'm pretty excited too. I'm glad you brought up the Kamala situation because it really did it seemed to energize everybody a little bit. And I think that's good, especially because the Cubs suck. And it was like, man, is everything going to suck about everything? No, some things are good.
Maybe, hey, look, the last time the Cubs were on top of things, Trump won an election, and maybe now that we have given up halfway through the season, maybe he'll lose.
Yeah, exactly. Let's trade everybody. So
I'll take it.
Yeah. So do I have anything else to get through? I don't think so. So
I can't imagine.
We've just, oh yeah, we didn't talk about Canario. He's dead. He died.
What happened to Kenny?
He's hurt. They carted him off the field.
Yeah, he got hurt sliding, and they had to cart him off, and he's getting all the imaging done.
What happened to him in like Aguilas?
Yeah, so not to end on a down note, but there it was.
Rip.
So this has been brought to you by the Bleacher Bunch Productions on the Fans First Network and our 107 paid Patreon supporters. Blake Beard's tickets, Rogue Wave Creative, and of course Mike Waller and the Cubs PS Plus podcast. Rich Hill brought this to you tonight. Also, Matt Kammerer Permanent Paintings and In the Clutch Shirts, who gave away a permanent painting and an In the Clutch shirt to our winner. Who is the winner again? I gotta look it up. Jonathan Mull was the winner.
Congratulations,
to him.
Jonathan.
He won tonight. He won one of those. And you can find us, of course, on all the places you find things called things, which is all the places you know, because you're not an idiot. I don't need to tell you all the places you find shit. Okay? And we do have a website. No, just kidding. So Sun Ranto. It's Sun Ranto everywhere. Tell your friends.
I like how he's like, just kidding. He's going to move on. He's like, no, I have to say it.
I have to say it. I have to say it's
contractually obligated, etc.
Yeah, contractually obligated. Leave us a 5-star review, like, follow. I don't think there's too much appetite for going over to the Discord tonight.
I can't.
Tired.
I only have one thing that I have to say.
All right.
What's that?
Bagog! That's a bad
Bagog.
take. That's a bad take. He's swinging for the lake. That's a bad take. That's a bad take.
That's
play
a bad
us out, Craig.
He's swinging for the lake. That's a bad take.
Bad take.
With the
That's a
cotton
bad
drop.
take. That's a bad take. He's swinging for the lake. That's a bad take.
Happy John
That's a
Baker
bad
Day.
take. That's a bad take. He's swinging for the lake. That's a bad take. That's a bad take. That's a bad take. He's swinging for the
Backup catcher got the win. I showed him down at Wrigley with a belly full of gin. I knew it would be a long one. Edwin Jackson was pitching. The backup catcher got the win. Edwin Jackson only lasted 4. The game was tied for 12 more innings. Nobody could score. We went to Captain Morgan's 'cause we wanted to drink more. The backup catcher got the win. The backup catcher got the win. The backup catcher got the win. Sat in the upper deck with 3 of my best friends. The backup catcher got the win. We were just outside to have a smoke, but as we stood beyond the gates, Captain Morgan's closed. We got left outside and we couldn't get back in. The backup catcher got the win. We were 3 sheets to the wind and overserved, and we couldn't get back to our seats in upper deck reserved. So we watched the game from the dugout on Addison. The backup catcher got the win. The backup catcher got the win. The backup catcher got the win. Got sick outside of Wrigley from mixing beer and gin. The backup catcher got the win. And then as the story is told, John Baker, the Cubs' backup catcher, took the mound in the top of the 16th inning, pitching a scoreless frame. And then, in the bottom of the 16th, John Baker came to the plate and drew a walk. And then he got to third base somehow, at which point Starlin Castro hit a sacrifice fly, winning the game. John Baker finally won it in 16 on the most exciting sac fly this baseball fan has seen. But I sort of missed it. I was drunk as shot machine. The backup catcher got the win. The backup catcher got the win. The backup catcher got the win. Oh, they threatened us with handcuffs when we tried to sneak back in. The backup catcher got the win. The backup catcher got the win. It was the night the backup catcher got the win.